Who's coming in? Who's the surprise?
Knox is special guest.
Can you guys hear me?
Because he doesn't show up that much.
Can you hear me now?
Hey!
Hey! What's up, Zach?
What's up, motherfucker?
Zach doesn't have a beard. That's not him.
Oh my goodness. There he is.
Zach is becoming like a demigod out there. What's up, homie?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, man?
So
Great. Nice to see you.
Full face.
Oh my God, it's Zach!
Yeah.
It's
I'd pee in his butt.
Zach the lumberjack, man.
is the surprise
Yeah,
announcement. The surprise announcement is that Zach's coming back.
Oh, I wish.
Hey, Zach, how are you?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Good. If I think Doug is the only one who's supposed to be in here who isn't yet, so I think we'll get started. So yes.
Hey.
Oh, look at that! 400
Bitches.
That is awesome.
Nice.
Thank you guys for joining, and well, I'll tell you what we got on the plate for tonight. I'm going to do an intro real quick. We'll get into it, and it's just kind of walk down memory lane and celebrating, 400 episodes. And then at 6 o'clock, we have special guests coming in. We'll talk to the special guest for a while, and then at 6:30, I have even more Misfits coming in.
Oh my God.
Are you, Liza, are you doing anything that we should prepare for, like most memorable episode or
Yes.
any questions like that? Do you have anything that you want to load us up with so we can think about it beforehand so it doesn't sound stupid?
I
Just
got
shooting
something to
from the
load
hip.
you up, Mike.
Yeah, most. What I have my list of like favorite episodes, favorite guests, favorite events, stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
This is completely the wrong.
What
When
do you
I
do
tell you,
to that
when I tell you the most favorite event, you're going to be like,
Kitty.
what?
Your cat's like a parrot, like a pirate parrot, but it's a cat.
She's my shoulder cat. Miss
Oh, that's brilliant.
Mhm.
Needs a little
All right.
pirate patch over her eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's too silly for that.
So I'm gonna get into the intro here, and I have something special
Maybe
for you guys. Let's
Can
see.
you hear me okay, Liza?
Yeah, you're a little low,
Okay, let me.
but
do
I can hear you.
Low down and dirty.
Let's
Go
get
down
through this.
once again.
All right, hold on. So tonight in the garage we have me. This is Liza. We have Douglas,
Hello.
and then we got Zach.
Oh, hi.
We got Josh.
Yo.
We got Adrian over here in the corner.
Last time I checked.
Megan.
Hello.
We got Dr. Hardass.
Howdy. Yes, it's true. It's now Dr. Now.
We got Craig.
Welcome back.
And we got Knock.
Hey.
Lucas.
Smoke weed every day.
What?
Ding dongs.
Cat.
That's a hard one to get right. That was good.
And Bagel.
I am Bagel, and I approve this message. Zoe.
Hey.
Yay. Antonio. Brap.
Hey.
James. Hey. Donut is here. Hello. Mason. Yo.
Jake.
Hello.
David.
Good evening.
Mary. With a Rich.
Laducha.
Electric Terry.
Go electric.
We have Jeremy. Why, Jeremy?
What? I don't know. I can't tell you. Isaac. Representative for the sweaty in the world.
Bex.
What's up? Aloha.
Next up, we got John Dalton.
Hello.
Speak of her
We got
anymore.
Andy.
Don't forget about me.
Norman Reedus.
What's up? What's up? Hi. Thanks for having me.
Charlie.
Hi. Hello. Hi, it's me.
Micah.
Yo, wiki.
Naked Jam.
Your mom's.
Award-winning Mike.
Don't look at me when I'm inside of you.
There it is. And then we got Hop Along Henry.
Howdy again.
Wow. What do you guys think of that?
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well
That's a
edited.
whole lot of misfits.
Wow,
Oh,
that must have
That's
taken
a
a
lot
while.
of misfit.
I remember that.
That's an island
Yeah.
of misfits.
yes, exactly.
Is my mic sounding better?
Yeah, it sounds. Yes, I can hear you. Hey,
It sounds
everyone.
like you're in a gramophone.
Welcome
Hey, welcome
to the
party too. What happened?
Motorcycles and Misfits 400th episode Extravaganza.
Lord of mercy.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, so that intro, just a blast from the past. I edited together a whole bunch of past Misfits. We've had so many. Knock, you got the 400th episode, bitches. I love it. That's even on your TV screen. That's awesome. We got a bunch of Misfits joining us here. Some new, some old. We've got guests coming in, and then we've got even more Misfits coming. This is a big, congratulations to us and to all of our listeners, some of whom have been with us from episode 1 all the way through. So let's get to who is actually with us right now. Hey, everyone, this is Liza, and in the Zoom chat with us right now, of course, it's Miss Emma.
Hello, darling.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
And let's see, we got Mycay and Charley. How y'all?
Hi. Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Hi. We did lots of motorcycle work today.
We did work on
Wow.
motorcycles today.
Mhm.
That's great. And coming to us from his fancy garage, it's award-winning Mike.
What's up?
Working on your bike too. And in his bike shed, it's Naked Jim.
Hey, peace, love, and ride dirt bikes.
Nice. And coming to us from, is that the luxury of your living room? It's Knock.
What's up, ding dongs?
Yeah, there it is.
Sham-lam.
And of course, everyone's favorite ginger. It's Bagel.
Hey, happy 400th. Also
Thank you.
in his living room.
Basically. And then the newest misfit, it's Rick. Hey, Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick.
And then I decided to unearth one of the old favorites, joining us all the way from across the country. It's Zach. Hey, Zach.
Hello, I am still Zach.
Hey, Zach, you still exist.
I was hoping for I exist.
I do exist.
Hey. With a
You
very
guys-
handsome beard. A very handsome beard, I must say.
Zach's
I was gonna say he looks very good with that beard. There's definitely more of you, Zach, than I remember, particularly
Really?
around the shops.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, this is as long as it's
there's
been a
more of you.
while.
Are you a lumberjack?
Oh.
I mean, I guess so. I am wearing flannel and have a beard, so I mean, I can't really argue.
Yeah, lumbersexual.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm ready for another road trip. Emma, do you still have your PIF helmet? We'll grab a school bus and drive across Ohio.
Wouldn't that be great? You know, the last time,
Last time.
I actually saw Zach was that very fond memory of him on that big wheel, just
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
tons of mud in a field in Ohio.
That thing was great. What a good
Mostly
time.
naked with a sombrero.
Yep. And silver teeth.
Yeah. Silver teeth.
Again.
God.
That was the around when Mad Max came out. You had that silver spray in your
Oh
nose.
my God.
It
That
did,
was
yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
most insane moments.
Yeah, it does. It burns the lips and teeth very much.
Did you say witness me?
Yeah.
Did you say
yeah.
witness me?
Yeah.
I didn't.
So,
Didn't you do it, Zach, while you were doing a burnout in the burnout competition and the board lit on fire?
Mediocre.
Phil was doing a burnout. I think I might have been on a milk crate. I'm not sure. There was
Exactly.
some stuff
Taking all the
going
burnt
on.
rubber in the face like a man.
The funny thing is, people didn't realize what it was. So there was some people who were like, "Are they huffing paint? Like, what are they doing?"
Whenever the
And
Misfits
Liza's in the back like mediocre.
Right.
Santa Cruz in the house.
whenever the Misfits get together with the Cleveland Moto gang, fun ensues, and usually there's crowds. There's usually crowds to witness. I'm like, what is happening?
Oh yeah.
It is a lot of fun. Wow, you guys, can you believe 400 episodes? I just remember sitting in the garage as we do on our garage days, wrenching, hanging out, just telling stories like we do, and just saying it'd be really cool if we could somehow share this with the world, And who'd have thunk it'd be all this time later? And so here's a little blast from the past for you. So our first episode ever. Let's see. Right, here it comes. And we didn't yet really know what we were going to call ourselves or how to do this whole podcast thing. I remember as Megan and Zoe and I sitting around a little microphone in the garage. There's still people putting tools away, ignoring us. And this is what you got. Welcome to the Santa Cruz Recycle Motorcycle Garage. We like to refer to ourselves as mechanics and misfits. And that would be Josie.
Wow.
Aw, Josie.
Oh,
Santa
Josie
Cruz
cat.
Recycle Garage is a nonprofit motorcycle garage that I, Liza, own and opened up to help other people work on their bikes. And there you go. That is what started it all. And I remember having that idea, like, oh, I know we have to make it sound better, but I think by the 10th episode we'll have it down. You know?
Yeah,
How long
400
did
later,
it
not even
take?
close.
We're still working on it.
Not even
Still
close.
working on it. Exactly. But what a crazy thing. And like, I know each of you came in at different times. I think it was either a Bagel or Knock. I think one of you were like the early people to come in a few episodes in, right?
Yeah, I just kept showing up to do the podcast and not actually help at the garage because I'm a weenie like that.
You just
And,
wanted to play podcast.
Yeah, I would like to hear the sound of my own voice, and I realized I shouldn't be hearing the sound of my own voice too much because it's not so great. But like, I decided to stick around anyways, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, these guys are kind of cool."
I remember that because the first time you actually helped somebody with their motorcycle, I was like, holy shit, he actually knows how to do stuff. And Bagel, you came to us via Cleveland Moto, right?
Yeah. I heard Phil mention you guys on his podcast, and I had just moved to Santa Cruz then, and from the South Bay, and my first thought was, what? Why have I not heard of this place before? I have to go check it out. And next time I was there, and just like, this place is awesome. I need to keep coming back here. And you invited me on the podcast, and I've been coming ever since.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Jim, you got drafted in from your daughter, Jake, and Emma, same too. I don't think Emma had much of a choice. Some of you just kind of got pulled in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a planet, and we're just spinning around, and then eventually, gravity just sucks us in.
That's well said, Emma.
Style. Yeah.
I used to ride my beach cruiser by there, just happy and content, going to the beach. Next thing I know, I'm busting knuckles and bleeding all over, cylinder heads and whatnot down at the garage. Draft is a good word, though. You kind of get into the slipstream of the garage, and it does kind of pull you along, and you tend to speed up. I think that's a good analogy.
It's actually a drain.
Right.
Emotional drain.
Some people can flow right through the drain, and some people get clogged, and you're stuck.
Sinkers and floaters.
Yeah, you gotta keep flushing.
Let's see where you're going.
But much as I love the museum, you guys are a lot more fun.
Aww.
So, yeah, I followed the fun.
Well, and when you think about it too, what I love is the whole concept, motorcycles and misfits. I always say, because look at us, right? What a bunch of misfits.
Shower of shit.
And that is the thing. I just love that the common love that we all share, is what brings us together. And then you get people like Mycay who, Mycay, you just came and started hanging out. And then I like to think that our passion kind of spread to you, and you got the same passion as well, right?
I mean, I'm definitely one to kind of go where the fun is, where I find the interesting stuff. I remember Liza, for the first couple times that I was coming to the garage, I was just there as Charley's girlfriend, and I was very nervous around all cool motorcycle people. And the owner of the garage lady would not talk to me because I was just the girlfriend who didn't ride any motorcycles. And then once I started getting into riding, I realized that it's not that Liza didn't like me. It's just that she doesn't care about things that aren't motorcycle related.
I've been afraid of Liza for a long time.
No, it's because you weren't in the fold. We didn't have anything to talk about.
Totally, absolutely. And it made me make sure that when new people come to the garage, I am very kind to them.
You're like, you ride motorcycles? Mike was like, No, and then you fuck it, he walks away.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the first time Zach showed up with his little porn stash. He's like, I just met this guy up at Pergolesi. He told me to come check it out.
Pergs.
And then I think, how long was it before you had a bike?
Next day.
Yes, exactly.
No, because I came there and I was like, oh yeah, I'd heard about it from I guess his name is Thor now.
Andrew,
yeah. And I showed up and I was like, maybe I'll go by. I don't know. And I walked by and was like, fuck it, I'll go in. And like was like, oh yeah. Kind of thinking about like a Honda Shadow, like, oh, we know a guy. And within like 40 minutes, I was at Mason's house looking at his VT 500. And I think I bought it the next day and showed up with it the next Sunday at the garage.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Nice.
And it just went downhill from there. And then Mike, I remember, Mike, the first episode you were on, that was, remember the Christmas episode where we had like 21 mics set up?
I heard about it from Zach. I was actually looking for the vampires. I wanted to give them a piece of my mind because they weren't showing up for the rides. And then he was down there with his little, what is that beater leather jacket you had, rolling cigarettes, smoking coffees with his leg crossed like this, like he's in France at Pergolesi. And here I am on my shiny bike. I cleaned for like the second month in a row, looking for these vampires. And I'm like, "You here for the ride?" He's like, "I don't know about anybody ride or whatever." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, I know some of them vampires are down at a garage down the street." And I'll never forget him looking at me like, I don't know if I should bring this guy there. Like, I just like feeling like you had a hesitation about telling me about it because you're like, I don't know. But and then
protective,
Yeah. And then I was so excited. I ripped my bike back to the house to be like, Marie, you got to come down to the garage. You got to check this place out. This is where everybody is, and they're riding, and there's bikes everywhere, and they're having a party tonight, a Christmas thing, and giving gifts out. And they invited us. She's like, why'd they invite you? That's why I want to bring you. I want to bring her to soften the blow. So
but the next thing you know, she's riding, right? She started riding bikes.
Well, she's riding because Kat was riding. And she didn't I don't know if she visualized herself doing it, or she was content to ride on my bike. But I remember kind of just, hey, you should, it'd be cool if we could ride together and do some stuff. And I remember she was on the back of my bike and we were riding with Kat, and Kat was in front of us and she was just ripping on that bike. What was that bike called? Fuego or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Was that her R6?
Pele. Yeah. And I just remember her feeling her leaning over, looking over my shoulder. And I'm like, that's it. You're in. You're in.
That's
so, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of really cool shows, fun shows, done a lot of stuff. I wanted to ask some of y'all, what are some of your favorite guests that we've had on? I mean, I'll say for mine, I've already got a list. Craig Vetter was a big one. He was the first AMA Hall of Famer. I mean, these are people I was nervous to get, Debbie Evans, stunt woman, that was one on my list for a long time. Gary Davis, Emma, wasn't that amazing going up to his?
That was just that was a good show all around.
Eric Buell just recently, what I loved about him is realizing he's just another guy who loves two wheels just like we are,
Yep.
He's just a guy. I mean, some of these people are geniuses or great. Have done great things like, Elspeth, going around the world. But when you start to talk to them, and they're just people who have the same love as us. I want to hear from you guys. And also joining us is Kat. Hey, Kat.
Hey, y'all. How are you?
Good to see you. Meow. We are just taking a walk down memory lane right now and talking about some of our favorite guests and shows. Anyone want to chime in with some of their favorites?
I've got one. So I remember when Jocelyn Snow was on the podcast, it was pretty early on in my writing career. And she walked in, this tiny 5'1" lady and I was really excited that there was like a woman coming on the podcast to talk about her motorcycle stuff. And Liza told me specifically, you should stay for this podcast and listen to this one. And I remember like just hearing all of these amazing feats that she had done on motorcycles and just was blown away. And I still talk about her constantly in my classes. I tell all my students who are shorter, especially women, that they can do anything that they want on the bikes. And I give them the tips that I was taught from Liza, that she was taught from Jocelyn about being a rider with shorter legs on bigger bikes. And I think that was like one of my favorite podcasts ever.
Good. Anyone else got a favorite guest?
I still geek out over what Cody Webb can do with a bike.
Yeah.
And he's such a nice dude.
Like, yeah, he's like super nice and super down to earth, and like the dude just like defies gravity every time he rides, and it's just like mind bending, and it was super cool to meet him.
Remember when, I think it was the second time he on our show, he talked about taking his final for his graduating college and then getting on the plane to go race in Erzberg and not sleeping.
Yep.
Like that's something I love, that education was important to him as well, and he was able to excel in both things, which is like.
And didn't he build an electric bike for their electric dirt bike for their project?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
And
dude.
that's the program that Jeremy is in now, actually, building like rock crawlers and stuff. Bagel, how about you? What's been one of your favorite guests?
I would have to say one of my favorite guests has been our friend Moin Khan.
Yeah.
Because the times where he's been on and where we've talked about Pakistan have been just the pictures, the middle pictures of how beautiful it is there, and talking about it have just been so great. And I'm so thankful that we had the opportunity to connect with him and go over there to see it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I remember having him here and just talking about how he's trying to change everyone's perception.
Yeah.
And inviting them over. And I just remember saying to him there, I'm like, I'm in. I'm doing it. I'll do the next tour. And look how, like, I'm going on my third trip. Mycay, you need to come. September. You need to sign up for the trip.
I am definitely interested. If I can figure out the funds and all that stuff, I'm in.
Is that a women's only trip, or?
That is a women's only trip, but there are plenty of other trips.
I'm not into that trip.
Well, you know,
you can drive behind him.
Attitude, Charley.
You can drive behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell you who one of my favorite guests has been on the show, and I think all of us. I mean, Norman Reedus. That was pretty big, right?
Yeah,
that was amazing. Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I mean, how just the whole thing, that was so cool. The fact that, you know, to be chosen to be on the show and to meet him and find out again, he's just like just a biker, you know?
And he took the time to come on our show too, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what I like what makes everybody cool to me, no matter what you do, is how you are as a human being. And he was like genuinely curious in what we were doing. He sat down Indian style on the pavement and asked each of us questions, and it like the most sincere, kind person. That's what really struck me. And he's like a super cool dude, but you know, nothing's cool if you're a dick. And he was such a cool guy to be around.
Acting.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I think we all learned. He likes to hug.
Yeah, he's a hugger.
He's a hugger.
I remember how like it was a big deal surrounding the show, and I think that was pretty an exciting part of that whole thing was like the setup for it, and how we had to orchestrate like, you know, getting the garage ready and all the preparation. It was pretty exciting, you know what I mean? Because it was, you know, we normally had some pretty big guests in the motorcycle world, you know. I mean, maybe some of the other guests too, you know, are just have done a lot, but it was just interesting the way we set up. Could I say one thing though? Paul Brown was one of my favorite guests.
Yeah.
And I'm not to take away from Norman, but I will say that I don't think that it was the most memorable podcast, but I just remember how he came in and you know how I always talk crap? Like he wasn't taking none of it and he was giving it right back. And I'll never forget that. Some people will be thrown off a little bit and they're just kind of like, what? Like they don't really know how to interact, you know, or something.
I think we were Emma. I think we were talking about shrimping right in the beginning, and he was like, "Okay, I see what this is all about."
he was just throwing it right back, like he's always been here. He knows the deal.
He fit right in.
That was pretty cool. But I remember with Norman when we were sitting around because he's so used to the camera. I think we were all just kind of sitting there, and he came up and he was like. He's like, what is this, an AA meeting? we're all just sitting around my engine, just like quietly, just like contemplating what was happening. And he was like, he just was very comfortable and he was very easy to be around. You know, he didn't make it, you know, something that it wasn't. You know, I don't know. I thought he was a great guest.
And then the entourage. Well, yeah, and then the entourage showed up. It was cool.
Yeah.
I remember going for the ride and Knock being the first to realize that we have a police escort. He can do whatever he wants. He starts doing
hooligan shit.
West Cliff.
We didn't put that on camera. I felt bad about it. But that's okay. That's okay. Maybe I was showing off a little too much.
Attaboy.
They can't take it away from you.
Knock, you're not easily impressed. Who's been one of your favorite guests?
Wayne Rainey was one of my favorite guests.
Oh, bitch, and that's right at the museum down at Moto Talbot.
Yeah, mainly because just like he's like a GP racer, international famous world renowned racer, and a guy who basically died doing what he loved, kind of a thing, you know. And he was really down to earth, really mellow, really chill, and he's like a real motorcycle guy, you know.
And then to be able to go over to his race bike at the museum, and to like talk about stuff on the bike, like that was
cool. I was looking at that picture the other day. All of us were kind of around him and the bike down at Moto Talbot. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. This show has definitely afforded us some really cool insight in meeting people. What you got, Jim?
You know, I tell you what, like it's not one podcast because all of them are great, but it was us just traveling around, like me and you, Liza, and sometimes Knock, and sometimes everybody else. And we would go somewhere and interview somebody on the fly. Or we would be at like the One Motorcycle Show, right? And we would be standing somewhere, meet someone and interview them. So I think some of the most memorable stuff was the stuff we did on the fly, because not only did you meet interesting people you wouldn't have met otherwise, Julia La Palma, just the one I could name a few. But then you get to learn about motorcycles. You get to ride somewhere. You get to do a trip. Like we went to AIM Expo. Mm-hmm. Right. And not only did we see cool bikes, but you won like almost $2,000 in slots. We had a great meal.
Oh shit.
But I think my favorite podcasts are the ones that we just show up. We just ride somewhere on the bikes. We show up and things happen. And that's always my funnest part.
Yeah, that was a good steak, man. That was some serious lucky steak.
Tower, son.
Emma, how about you? I know
hello, darling.
I know Elsbeth and Wes Cooley are two of your favorites.
Well, I mean, let's talk about those two because they are my favorites. I mean, Wes was a wonderful interview for me just because he's been such a hero of mine for so long. I mean, my admiration of Wes Cooley really dates back 42 years, which is a long time to think anybody's great. And he's such a gentleman. He's such a neat person, and that's what everyone is saying. You know, we hold our heroes in very, very high regard, but we find out they're just like the rest of us. It's great, but Elspeth is head and shoulders above every other interview, and not just because of the circumstances of the interview itself. We've told this many, many times before that Elspeth gave the interview from her bed. It was the coolest thing in the world. We did a Zoom link and she put the phone down and you'd see a sort of arm go across, or, you know, as she was gesturing when she was talking. But I want to go back even further than that to a couple of, I think probably a month after you all visited the museum, and you kept on bugging me and you said, Emma, you've got to be on the show. You've got to be on the show. And I was putting it off because I'm like, you know, these guys are kind of intimidating and I'm not sure whether I want to go over there, and I'm happy in the museum. But I finally decided to come over and go on the show, and I wanted to bring something. And so I thought, well, who shall I talk about? And I'd like to talk about two pioneer women motorcyclists. And the one was Beryl Swain, who used to race at the Isle of Man TT until she was banned. And the other one was Elspeth Beard. And up until that point, nobody had in our circle had heard the name Elspeth Beard. So that's why she's kind of my favorite.
You know, and I think if we asked listeners, I would say some of their favorites are Emma's history holes and just the stories that she tells. People who weren't physical guests here, but they got to learn about them.
Well, you know, it's
too with Bessie Stringfield, learning about her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coolest one.
Yeah.
This is what I've I've tried to convey all along with my history holes and just how I approach motorcycling in general. We have to be very respectful for what we're doing because we're a tiny part of this incredibly rich history of people who've gone before us and messed about with motorbikes. It's an amazing history, and we're part of it. We're as much part of it as the Elspeth Beards, as the Bessie Stringfields. We've all got our part to play in it. But it's such a rich tapestry of people. It's a wonderful thing to be involved with. I wouldn't change a moment of it.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I love too is all the different people we've had on this show. And I'm so glad to get people, you know, like Kat and Zach back. And, you know, I think throughout the show, we're going to have more and more people coming in. I've reached out to a lot of people, but it wouldn't be a show without Norman joining us. Hey, Norman, how are you?
Oh, come on. Stop it.
Get the fuck out of here! What?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Get a Slayer shirt on. I knew you were cool, man.
Hey, thanks for joining us. You know, this is our 400th episode, and we're taking a walk down memory lane. And you know, our number one most listened episode, and one of our favorites, was with you. So I wanted to invite you on and be a part of the reunion.
You guys are drunk. That's what...
We're getting there.
That makes 8 of us.
We're getting there.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Have Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah, so I wanted to do a catch up with you a bit and, you know, say thank you very much for choosing us to be on, you know, the number one episode, season 1, episode 1 of Ride with Norman Reedus. No one knew what the show was going to be. We didn't know what it was going to be. And then to finally see not only what the show was when we were on it, but all the seasons since then. And it's really evolved, and I'm really still enjoying it. How about you?
I'm still enjoying it too. You know, we had can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you know, that show kind of constantly evolves into something else. But oh man, am I still on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still here.
Oh, there you are. So I'm in Costa Rica. I have the worst Wi-Fi.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I saw that episode. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, Ride is doing great. We you know, we just did 6 more episodes. We shot 2 in New Zealand, and then I went to Los Angeles, and I was only supposed to be there like 8 days, and I was supposed to go to Italy. And then AMC called and said, "You're not going to Italy. Italy is under it right now." So I kind of got stuck in Los Angeles for the most part for almost a year, I guess. So then we did best of episodes. So that's what I've been working on now is best of episodes of that.
So, yeah. So I was curious though. Did you have much say in choosing for the first episode, or was it just the producers that we got lucky with?
No, you know what? The first season of the show was a little different than what it is now. But what they do is they throw a bunch of stuff at me, and then I say, "That sounds fun. That sounds stupid. That sounds fun. I'm not doing that. I'll do this." And we kind of take it from there. So, yeah, thank you for being on my first. You guys were my guinea pigs, basically.
So we must have checked the stupid box. They're like, they're stupid. We'll go do that.
No, you guys got the thumbs up, sure. But yeah, we had a different showrunner in the very first episode. The first season gradually became a show that I really liked, and then it just keeps getting better. But but we had an original showrunner that I think he just wanted to make a gearhead show, and I kind of wanted to have more fun with it. So, yeah, but the first season was great. Second season, it's all been fun. So
yeah,
I'm very lucky.
I think the fourth season, the last season, got even better. I mean, some of the places you went, and I mean, like sumo wrestling in Japan, and just all these really cool culture things. Not necessarily. Oh my, the little go-karts in Japan. That was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, Mario Kart.
Mario Karts in Japan. I wanted to know what have been some of your favorite places, because you're somebody who has traveled extensively, been around the world, and you're still discovering new things. So what's been some of your favorite episodes?
The Costa Rica episode was one of my favorites, mainly because of the guy I brought with me, Dom Rocket. He's been
Yeah.
forever. He's like a real friend of mine. And we just beat the shit out of him, so that was a lot of fun.
On the dirt bikes.
On the dirt bikes he fell, and at one point he flipped a quad, and he laid on his back screaming, and I started doing donuts around him and just throwing
Oh man.
on him. He chipped a tooth, like knocked a whole tooth out, biting a
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
super glue it back in. Like,
Did you say he bit a cobra?
Coconut.
Oh,
Coconut.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
He's a wild guy for sure.
Sounds like a good time.
That was good. Japan was good. Florida was good with Peter Fonda, just because it was Peter Fonda.
Oh, Rooker.
Rooker was great as well.
I thought Rooker was great.
He's one of my favorite. I talked to him last night actually. But he was one of my favorites for sure. Yeah, when I found out he was going to be my brother on Walking Dead, I was like, Henry Portrait of a serial killer? I was so excited.
I know. The Rooker episode, when you stop at his cousin's house and it's full of dolls, and I was like, this took a weird turn.
Yeah, that was an accident. We were just driving down the road, and she was out front, and we weren't supposed to go there. So, yeah, they were really. She was like super camera shy, and then she like warmed up right away.
What I liked about that Rooker episode, the first one in season 4 was you hop on the bike, you're getting ready to head out to where you guys do the filming, and you're like, I roll on the throttle and everything melts away, and I'm like, hey, that's what we said in our little episode in the first season.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
I thought that was cool, man. Yeah, like everybody. That's the universal thing. You hop on the bike and everything melts away. But it was funny to hear you say that when you were riding through.
Maybe I got that from you, but maybe it went into my brain.
Run with it.
Yeah, for sure.
spread the love.
Yeah. So I noticed. So you, when you're on the episode, you're riding Triumph, and there are different Triumphs around the world. So, is that a bike that you love riding yourself?
Yeah, I love that bike. It was my first time to ride it was on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to switch bikes all the time and have a different, 3 bikes an episode type of a thing. And one of the bikes was that Tiger. And I was like, wow, I like this bike because, it can go anywhere. You can get on the freeway, you can climb a mountain on it. It's just comfortable. And I'm sitting on my butt like all day. And the next season after that, they were like, maybe we just make it like a man on his horse traveling around the world on his own horse, which was cool for me because, sometimes I'd get on a bike. I'd be like on a hyper motard or something flying down the freeway, like wobbling in the wind. And I'd be like, this isn't the bike for this thing, and that bike can do anything. So I really do like that bike. And we're sponsored by Triumph. So, yeah.
I got a question for you. Every time I hear about the Triumph Tiger, I remember a ride Knock and I did up to Oregon, and your buddy had that one, and I'll never forget. Every time I hear that, I remember him being like, "Oh, I just got this bike, and it's really good, but like the stock seat is horrible." Do you remember that, Knock? And he was complaining about that, and his helmet was too small, but I think his head was too big. To be honest with you.
Yeah, change his pants. I don't know. That bike's super comfortable.
So I've heard in interviews that you have a few bikes yourself, and I'm curious, what is in your current stable now?
I have 12 bikes.
That's it.
Nice.
Yeah,
There's one shy, one more.
You end up with all these bikes. I have a 46 Knucklehead, which is super nice. I have an FXRP. I have 2 FXRs. I have a little mini bike that was given to me by the Slow Adults, you know, that group. I have a Yamaha dirt bike, a 2-stroke. I have maybe 6 Tigers at this point, maybe more. I keep giving the Tigers away. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, I got a bunch of bikes. I have a little dirt bike here in Costa Rica, a little 250.
Right on.
I'm about to spray paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of bikes.
So what's on the list? What do you not have yet that you want?
You know what's coming is how do you say that? Aprilia? Is that how you say that bike?
Aprilia.
Aprilia. Yeah, I have one of those coming. They reached out to me and offered me one, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Oh, the new adventure bike?
No, it's a proper crotch rocket. I forgot the name of it.
It's the fast one.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
It's
the fast one. Yeah.
It looks mean. It looks a little terrifying, but I'll have fun with that for sure.
Well, I know that you have the new season of Ride coming up, and I'm hoping that the show continues. And I thought I'd give an opportunity to our Misfits to make some suggestions to you about places they may like to see you go. Anyone have a suggestion for Norman? Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, I'll go. I got one because I do love watching them. I love all the seasons. It's and I like the whole variety of it. But I'm going to try to set the bar high here. I'm thinking like it's a whole season, right? Not an episode, but a season. You got to think a little. You got to think a little long way around. It's going to get dirty. But one of our best podcasts, and I know Norman, you guys do a lot of stuff with charities. You like to eat food. You like to be in nature. All those things. I think we check all the boxes. I think stupid shit. I think we got that one checked. But we did a podcast with Rally for Rangers, and this is a program where they protect some of the like special places in the world. And it started in Mongolia, kind of Mongolia-China border.
Wow.
And there was a guy that went out there, a doctor, who was helping out, and they realized that these guys rely on these small dirt bikes to get around to watch for poaching, illegal mining, etc., right? And they don't have enough motorbikes. So it's a program where you pick up a dirt bike, you go to Mongolia, you ride it 1,000 miles, and you drop it off to a ranger who then uses the motorcycle to tour around and keep an eye on the place and do all that kind of stuff. That's my suggestion. And if you need a sidekick, you know, I'm comic relief. I think I can handle that. So,
Goodness, the day that sounds like a great episode. I love that.
Anyway, there's one.
All right. Anyone else got a suggestion?
Seconding Jim's idea. I think that's brilliant.
It's good. Yeah. I would love to do that.
Oh, I think you should do a scooter episode with Bagel. I think you should hop on it like an Italy tour with Bagel, or like wherever I can't curse on this one, can I? Wherever, you know. And then you got to listen to Bagel the whole 2 weeks. That should be the show.
That's a good point, Norman. Do you know about the scooter cannonball? These idiots ride cross country on scooters. And Bagel, he did it one time, and he left here in California and rode up to Alaska and did an iron butt just to start the rally.
Wow.
Yeah, hardcore scooterists are pretty badass.
Yeah, like a 250. You know those things don't go over like 55.
No, I have one that does. I have one that goes like 70 miles an hour.
Oh, nice.
It's a racing minivan.
Terrifying.
It's
excellent.
It's a wheelie death machine.
What?
It's so scary. Yeah,
That's
and the
awesome.
torque on just when you try to kickstart it like throws you in the air. It's scariest motorcycle I own. Yeah.
Is it one of those
bikes, big fun.
One of those little 2-strokes?
Yeah, and they race it, so there's all these racing parts on it that I don't even know what it does. But I'm trying. Well, right now there's the guy that does the motorcycles on our show, Walking Dead. He is putting an electric starter on it because it's a knee breaker. Trying to start that thing.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool, though.
We had to change the motor because there's no spot for the electric start. Whatever the fuck makes the electric start go to the thing at the bottom.
It's like a can.
I'm not supposed to cuss, right? My bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, you can cuss.
Okay.
It's a cuss.
Oh, I thought we weren't cursing because Norman was here.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike.
Only me.
We were just gonna let you think that.
No, and I love that you've included a lot of our friends on the show. Like, was it Mike who's talking about Paul Brown, the dirtbag in San Francisco?
Yeah.
That was really cool. And then I think you even stopped at our friend Elspeth Beard's tower in.
Yeah. That was cool.
How do you guys know Elspeth?
Oh, she's a friend of ours. She's been on the show, and
No way.
I actually rode with her in Pakistan.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I went to her house, her lighthouse.
Yeah, it's water tower.
Water
Tower. That's right.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get her life rights, and somebody got her life rights before me. So I constantly check in and be like, they haven't done anything with those, right? Like, when does that expire? I still want it, but I want to make a movie about her.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. I'll let you know if I find out anything from that. But I know somebody said that they had the movie rights, and she was excited. What a great story! She's a real cool person. Anyone else have any suggestions? It doesn't necessarily have to be motorcycle, but a place that you can ride to and experience a really cool culture.
Well, you know, if we're on the subject of England, the next time you're in England, Norman, if you time it right, you should always go to the Goodwood Revival, which is great. I mean, Goodwood is a racetrack outside London that's really locked in time. It shut down for real racing in the 60s and lay pretty much preserved. And so once a year they have this thing called a revival, where everybody wears 1960s clothes. Any vehicle younger than like 1965 can't get in. So it's like stepping back in time, and the bikes are just out of this world.
Wow, that sounds great too. We did England.
It's a party.
Wet. Yeah, it was wet.
England's always wet.
Just take the car.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I would love to see that.
Well, one of the things that I think is really great for the show that allows you to do, and what we've seen, if you take your helmet off and you go to in a crowded place like some of these cool bike shows or something, it's really hard because you get mobbed. But when your helmet is on and you're riding, you're just another biker out there on the streets, And that I think that's really cool that you're able to go so many places and do things. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Oh, so my recommendation, as I said, I rode with Elspeth in Pakistan, and I actually do moto tours, women's moto tours of Pakistan. Bagel's been there on his scooter as well. Northern Pakistan, the Karakoram Highway is amazing. I mean, it's just amazing, but not just the roads, it's really the people. And it's one of the only places in the world. You've traveled a lot, so maybe you can tell me, but it's the only place I've been where complete strangers, and some of these are just goat herders living in a tent, they come out and they thank you for visiting their country. They just like thank you.
In New York, we're like, don't turn around and get out of here.
Exactly. So I'm curious, did anyone else have any other pitches? This is your chance.
I've got one. One of my favorite trips that Charley and I have done, we went to Holland to visit some of my family.
Oh, yeah.
And we rented 125s for 2 days. And so I had an MT 125 and he had
I had the KTM RC 125. The thing was sick. I tried doing burnouts, couldn't do it.
Well,
but it was awesome.
They gave him one with a brand new motor also, which was terrible.
They made a huge mistake.
Yeah, but it was an amazing trip to just be going. We basically followed the dikes all the way through from Utrecht all the way to the.
Oh no! Sorry.
They're like the rivers, like the elevated.
Yeah.
Calm down, Liza.
All the way.
Hold on.
All the way to the border of Germany, and we actually went and stayed in Germany for a night as well. But that was one of my favorite trips, just being on these tiny little motors.
Well, they were full size motorcycles, but they were 125 4-stroke 125 engines. We were like, we wanted to rent those because we couldn't get them here.
And you can just hold the throttle open as long as you can. You're not going to go very fast, but you can do all the fun twisties, and you can see as far as anything because Holland has like one hill, and it's a hill. It's not a mountain, so it's beautiful. That was one of my favorite trips.
I wanted just to like how far can I just keep the throttle all the way open on these like twisty roads or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a lot longer than I thought I could.
So that's a good little bike episode.
Yeah.
Oh, great. That sounds. I'll get the biggest guest I can find.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Norman, something else that I like about the show is seeing you ride different styles and seeing you ride dirt bike and see your love and passion for just all things two wheels. And that's what we all have in common here too, be it scooters or Harleys or, little 125 KTM. We love it all. Something I'd really like to see and want to know, have you been on the track? I'd love to see you do a track day.
Not on a motorcycle. I've done it with cars a few times, never on a motorcycle. I mean, this is completely not motorcycle related, but I drove that electric Porsche.
Oh, yeah.
You ever been in that thing?
No.
Yeah, last week.
It's terrible.
Yeah, yesterday.
Last week.
I spilled my chili dog on it.
You'd be like giving out like psych evaluations to sell those cars because they're death machines. Like literally, you punch it and your head hits the seat so hard that your neck hurts.
Good.
That's my only try, but it was terrifying. But no, I haven't.
That's how I feel on my Z1000.
That's what I would love to see. Like last week on our show, we had
no, I have. What am I talking about?
Wait,
Yeah.
So we had Josh Hayes and Melissa Paris, two racers. That's something to get you out there with, like, legit racer who can like teach you the basics and see you out there flying. I think that would be a great show. I mean, you've never done a track day at all?
No, I have done a track, but
you have done a track day.
Yeah, I forgot. Dave Chappelle and I raced on a track. I smoked everyone.
Nice.
But I not professionally. Just like riding like an asshole. I smoked everything.
Like knock.
Is there any other kind of riding that you haven't tried yet that you want to?
What do you mean?
Like trials, or are there any other styles?
Flat track.
I would love to do the flat track. That'd be fun. I would even do the what do you call it, with the snow tires on the ice.
Oh, the ice! Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, very slow.
Okay, I got one more, Liza.
Oh yeah.
It's a little closer to home, a little simpler, but one of our mottos, Norman, is live to ride, ride to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So Liza and I,
I think that's his too.
Yeah, right. So we developed our own little ride. You may have heard of backcountry discovery routes, right? So through New Mexico, Colorado, all this ADV stuff. Now that you have an adventure bike, so we have a little ADV ride through Santa Cruz, North Monterey County, beautiful vistas of Big Sur, where we sample about how many stops, Liza? 8 or 9 food stops. Yeah,
we had like 8 or 9 food stops.
So we had pie at Gizdit's Ranch in Watsonville, Gilroy garlic fries, Watsonville for
Castroville.
Tacos it was.
We had strawberries in Watsonville. Yeah, Castroville.
Oysters on the coast.
Yeah.
So if you want just a quick weekend getaway, come down. We'll do a little adventure ride and grab some food.
I love that you went someplace just for garlic fries.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And then we can ride the fire roads above Big Sur.
Well, I would
like some dirt roads in Big Sur.
These are all fun ideas. I do all of them.
And along the lines of flat track, have you guys ever seen speedway racing? It's oh my god! So, do you know what speedway is?
Clock breaks.
It's like flat track. It's oval, but it is no brakes and it's one gear.
Oh wow!
And it's got these weird looking bikes. Emma, how do you describe the bikes?
I mean, they're a bike unto themselves.
Yeah.
They've been dominated, of all people, by a Czech manufacturer, by Jawa, for many, many years. But they're single-cylinder, 4 strokes, very, very high revving, and it's a similar style to flat track. You steer with the bars, but you kick the back out, and it's all about sliding. But
Norman, do you remember that episode in Japan where you were drifting?
Yeah.
This is the motorcycle version.
Wow.
So it's like, is it like 6 gear bike?
The pegs are offset. So you lean over with it.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I want to know what are things that you would like to do on the show that you haven't been to?
I would like to go to Vietnam. I think that would be
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do Vietnam. I'd like to do Cuba. But Something about Vietnam. I was speaking to who was I talking to? Matt Dillon or somebody like that, who just directed a movie there, and he was telling me about Vietnam and just how beautiful and how all these motorcycles are like they take different pieces from different bikes and they make these little chop shop bikes, and you ride down the rice fields of Vietnam. It's supposed to be insane.
I know people who've done.
Oh no, it wasn't Matt Dillon. It was the dude that directed Godzilla.
I think that was Knock.
Wow.
Hey,
Knock too? Yay!
Liza, I got a question. Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
What? So now that you got a couple seasons in, right? And I mean, you ride on your own personal time just because it's something you enjoy doing. But normally, I don't do any of the shows that you do. But I've been in an accident, on the road twice, and then that's a normal thing. It's not normal for everybody. Some people are more safe. But have you? What's the most crazy thing that maybe we haven't been able to see on screen, accident wise, where you're like, oh no, I need to maybe take a break for a few weeks, or I don't know, something crazy.
What are you talking about? He's got a stunt double for that stuff.
You know what my stunt double does? He does drone shots. When I leave, they do private shots. It's the best.
Smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, but I haven't had any big accidents on the show. I've had big accidents in real life, but not on the show. The worst little thing that's ever happened to me on the show is I kept flipping on Brent Hines' seat heater, and we were in New Orleans, and he figured it out and chased me onto a freeway, and then pulled up, and I was on a ditch, and he pulls up next to me and starts punching me in the arm, and he falls into me. We both slide into a ditch, and I gashed my leg. But in real life, I hit a car. These two old people pulled in front of me while I was about to zoom onto a freeway, and I hit the front of the car, and I kind of flew over the car, and I could see them watching me sort of in slow motion, and I kind of landed on my head and slid, and then I had to hide I laid in the ground. This is in California, and I laid on the ground, kind of just twitching. And people drove by going, sue him. No one fucking stopped.
Right?
I had warrants out for my arrest, so I had to push the bike into these bushes, and I went to a very famous actor's house who wasn't famous at the time, but I pushed the bike in the bushes, went to his house because it was right there, and I sort of laid on his couch all day. And then years later, this guy becomes famous, and I read in a magazine an interview with him, and he told the story as if it was his own. And I was like, okay, no. Then I've had a bunch of near real problem things happen. I was flying down the freeway, also in California, and there was flat metal, like somebody ran over metal, so it was super flat. And it was freeway like this, and it kind of went right over my head. I saw it spinning, and a car hit it and went spinning. And I literally was headed right for it, and I just hugged the bike and ducked my head under the fairing, and it's like, ah. But that
doesn't happen in Northern California. I'm just saying, if you ride up here with us, you don't have to deal with that shit. Metal on the road, old people hitting you. It's nice and chill up here.
Yeah, trust me, I don't live in California anymore. But that was a scary one.
I feel like everybody has that slow motion experience when they're looking at the person in the face, and you almost want to be like, motherfucker, like as you're going by, I'm like, why did you stop? Boom.
Yeah. I almost crashed into my neighbor's kid like that.
Well, Norman, I know I don't want to keep you too much longer. I want to thank you for joining us on our 400th episode. I mean, you've been a big part of the show, and a lot of people discovered us through your show. So I want to just thank you in person. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to season 5. Any idea when it might be coming out? Nope, none at all.
No idea. It's in the editing process now, but it's kind of like best of episodes, except the 2 that we went to New Zealand right before the COVID hit.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to get some filmed before everything.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back out there, and thank you for having me on your show. You guys have always been really cool to me, and you guys are a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks,
Good
man.
holidays, everybody.
All right, thanks, Norman. All right,
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Slayer! Red and Black!
Bye, guys. Have a good one.
So we've got some more misfits who've joined us. We've got there's Unky Phil. Phil, how you doing?
What's up, big heads?
What's going on?
Hey.
So where are you?
I'm in the frozen ice planet of Hoth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good.
There it is.
There you go. There's a little
An
sauce
oldie but a
for you.
goodie.
For the people who can't see, for the people who can only hear us, can somebody please describe what we're looking at?
Yeah, so that right there that's what happens at AMA Vintage Days. Stays at AMA Vintage Days right there. That's myself and Naked Jim. We were having what we like to call an AMA pinnacle,
Meltdown?
like one of those. We were walking with giants at that moment.
It was a moment, and I would like to point out, aside from my obvious nakedness, that you have spray painted yourself in Isaac's honor because you lived, you died, you lived again.
Live again. Yeah,
that was a doozy of a night right there.
That was a doozy of a night right there. That's
As soon as the spray paint comes out, you know it's going to be a good night.
I'm gonna tell you guys. You guys all know, and Zach was there. So.
I was there. I was like, "Is this the aftermath?"
Yeah. It was something.
Yeah, the fact that night started great and then became epic. Yeah, I don't ever remember sleeping. So.
Well, and also joining us, it's Mean Megan herself. Now we got to call her Mommy Megan.
Mommy Megan.
Oh.
Hey, Megan.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Look at you got with you.
Like
Another dirt biker.
Say hi.
Oh.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Elliot.
Hi. Elliot, hi.
I built my share of motorcycles.
Hi, Elliot.
Megan, you missed it. At the beginning, I played the intro to the first episode where we ever did, whereas you, me, and Zoe just sitting in the garage talking around the mic. And we called ourselves mechanics and motorcycles because we hadn't yet figured out what we were going to call ourselves. But,
Did you clean up the audio at least?
oh no, it's horrible. There's people opening drawers
It's
and clanking.
terrible.
They were ignoring us as we're trying to record because the garage is still going on.
Sincere.
No, mechanic is a really strong word.
Yeah.
I know, but it's so nice to have you back on here as part
we
of
also
this
have a big-
reunion.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
You know, we've had so many misfits along the way, and Uncle Phil. I mean, you're a misfit. You've been on our show a bunch of times now.
I feel it's so funny because when I saw this, when I clicked in, I didn't want to be a dick because Norman has the room, and the funny thing was I was like, oh Micah, Charley, oh my God, Zach, holy shit, everybody's here, and I was so overwhelmed, and I was just like, and then I got to the bottom, and I was like, oh knock, okay, whatever. It's a baby. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, "Oh my God, Megan's got a baby! That's amazing! So this is really a big deal, you guys. 400th episode. It's just the coolest thing in the world. Can't possibly say enough.
Oh man, I mean, you've been there with us. You started before us. If you guys didn't drink so much, you probably would have had four more episodes than us by now.
You guys know that we took a time out due to Dustin having an intervention with alcohol, you know?
Yeah.
So we took a time out. And so there was a big, long period of time where we didn't have any episodes and we lost a ton of our episodes. So we had to fight to get those back, and our podcast listeners helped us out. But you guys will know that I've always considered you guys, you know, part of our family podcast. Like, you guys are where I want to be when I'm not in Cleveland. So, you know, you guys.
Aww. We want you here too, Phil.
You guys talk a good game, but fucking Mikey 3 times over there has always been my absolute, one of my absolute favorite people to hang out with, and Emma and all you guys. And I have loved every one of you as often as I can. So, yeah.
Well, Phil, we always have an uncomfortable futon for you over here.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny when you think about going back to like the beginning of our show and yours, there was a handful of motorcycle podcasts back then, and it was just us, you know, sitting around and like just shooting the shit. Most of them were like two people talking over Skype or something. And now I think somebody counted there's like 150 motorcycle podcasts or something now.
Wow.
Holy
Jesus.
shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
There's a bunch of them. I keep discovering new ones. I mean, there's only a handful that been around, but I do have another podcaster sent a message I want to share with everyone.
All right.
Hello, Misfits. This is Moto G Pete from the Nokomoto Podcast and your other host from the Nokomoto Podcast, Swiggy.
Yo.
Sending you a 400th episode congratulations message. And it feels, I don't know if how long it feels since we were sending you a super thirsty ass kissing 300th episode congratulations.
Yeah, it kind of feels like 1.92 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. So, again, you guys, 400 episodes. Wow. And you just continue to set the bar so high and yet also so low at the same time.
Either way, we will never exceed your standards.
All right. Here's the 400 more. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Isn't that awesome? The Nokomoto guys.
Those guys were chill. We met them in Vegas after you won that fucking slot machine thing.
Yeah.
And we invited them over to the restaurant so we gave them our leftovers because we couldn't finish the ginormous fucking steak that we ordered or whatever it was.
The seafood tower.
Yeah.
Whenever I see seafood and tower on a menu, I'm in.
That is what hooked you. As soon as you said, it didn't matter what the tower was. If the food had tower, we were going in.
Yeah.
Food tower. Bring the food tower back.
Meat trough. Like
I
that's
think it's
Liza's
funny
line.
that there's any opportunity, whether it's a race or Portland, which Portland's epic. The one show is just probably one of the best shows I've ever been to. Like the kind of thing that if I can go there, that's one thing. But if I can go there and know that the guys from Nokomoto are going to be there, or know that there's going to be somebody from the Misfits there, or the guys from Cafe Racer Podcast, or the Wheel Nerds, knowing that those guys are going to be there makes it that much more exciting to see old friends, hang out, and then get super duper loaded and turn the microphones on.
And go to a Chi-Chi bar with Bagel.
Guys.
Oh my God, you guys.
Okay, for the record,
yeah.
I will still send money. I'm sending money to Portland right now for Maggie the stripper because I feel like it's my job to keep those folks doing well so that when we go back there next year, that strip club will still be in business and we can get that awesome food because it was really all about the food.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All about the food.
Yeah, Bagel's also sending money there too. So maybe you guys can set up a fucking joint thing.
Somebody's got their doctorate degree by now in Portland.
Hey, and I wanted to say also joining us, we got James. Hey, James, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good to see you.
On the 400th episode. This is a big
I know it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, we talked about some of our favorite events that we've gone to. I want to know, we talked about AIM Expo. That was a lot of fun. One show, AMA Vintage Days. What are some of the other events that you guys have attended that you really love?
Babes right out.
Ah, good one.
I mean, Vintage Days, obviously.
I mean, AMA Vintage Days just trumps everything.
It does.
It's like you can't even consider that one. It's that good.
Though one year I'd like to get Phil out for the quail.
I would too. I would love to do that, guys. That's something I've watched my friends go out to the quail. Jesse Bassett from Gasbox. I've had some folks show up and tell me they're like, you got to get out to the quail. You got to get out there. And I would love to come out with you guys for the quail. That would be the coolest thing.
Yeah, the funny thing is, and I talk about, the thing that binds us is that we all have this love of two wheels. And you go to something like AMA Vintage Days and you got just people being drunk and silly and kids and it's like this total mayhem. But again, the common thing is that these people love two wheels and we'll talk about anything two wheels. And then you can go to something like the quail where you have these like well-dressed rich people in very high-end cars and you're eating food on a plate with silverware and service but it's the same thing. It's the
all
same
biker
thing.
trash. It's all biker trash.
It's the same thing.
Irrespective of what level it is.
It's
Different
biker
flavors.
refuse.
I can always rely on Jim, just sitting down at somebody's table and starting a conversation with them.
Yeah, it is. Well, motorcycles, it's easy. You know, the other event I like, Liza, and I think a bunch of people here have been to it, and I think, Phil, you guys, I think every town in Ohio has it, and maybe a lot around the country, but it was Bad Matt's New Year's Day flat track. So this is a local guy who had a little bit like a couple of acre lot in San Jose, which is kind of rare. And every New Year's, it was a family-friendly potluck get-together where they had a tiny little flat track. So I think it was, 150cc bikes or less. And you just raced around in a circle all day long, in and out, and had food and drank a little bit. And it was a great way to spend New Year's. So I love those kind of events, the little hometown stuff.
You know, the first time I went to fucking
Oh.
Bad Matt, I was so nervous about dirt biking, and then I finally the track was clear, and so I got on and I did one lap before fucking Cody Webb jumped.
No,
It was Dion Campbell.
Dion Campbell, yes.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
I think John Campbell, Michelle DeSalvo, I think.
I was
And
on
Yuri
that- I was
Berrigan.
on the track with Yuri, Michelle, and them
Dion.
all at the same time, and I was doing all I was doing was weaving back and forth, trying to fuck them up. That's the only way I was doing it. I was not doing it. I was just like, fuck this, and I kept turning around. And then when we got off the track, she's like, yeah, never turn around, just look forward. I'm like, fuck that. I'm keeping you guys behind me. That's the only way I could do it. They were bad, dude. They're so competitive. That's not even fun. It's not even like, oh, cool, you're not that good at riding. I'm just going to play around with you a little bit and let you win. No. They're fucking racing everybody,
Yeah, as soon as Dion Campbell was going around me, and I could not do it. He passed me once, and I was like, "Bye." See you later.
That was fucked up because it was Mycay had just started riding. It was one of her first times in the dirt, and we had cleared the track so she could have a nice, calm moment around the track to feel it out and learn it. And then they're like, "The track's clear, let's go."
What a Chad.
Well, and I wanted to take a second to catch up with some of the Misfits who we haven't heard from much lately. Kat, I want to know, what have you been up to? I know you're still working up at Zero Motorcycles.
I am. So I'm a NPI engineer at Zero Motorcycles now.
Nice.
And I basically just work and then work some more. And that's my life. I still have an outrageous amount of motorcycles. I now have 0 added to the fleet, though, so
yes,
that's fun. And I live with Justin.
Justin, hey, your co-star from Motorsexual.
Yep. And we play video games and we wrench on our bikes, and I think we have how many?
And you wheelie past my fucking house. That's what you do.
This
I see you motherfucking wheeling by. I know it every time.
So we're also now neighbors with Mike.
Nice.
It took us a month and a half to figure out where he actually lived. But now we know where to rent. Yeah.
So you do blaze him. That's
Because I'm on the straight part of the road where people pass each other. So they come up, and it's like you guys have already been wheeling for about a quarter. It's all thumpers. And I know it was fucking you because I heard an electric bike too with them. So I'm like, come on, man.
when you hear an electric bike going by, you know they're going fast.
I'm like, all right.
And Zach, how about you? Looks like you too. A lot of the Misfits returning. Looks like they're in domestic bliss. Zach, what you got going on there?
So this is Alice. I live with
Alice.
Oh,
What's up? Known each other for a really long time. So we're living in Northampton, Mass now. I have a real programming job now, which is great. I'm still riding the same SV that I had out there.
Oh my god.
But now it has a race pipe and is pretty much as close to a race bike, as entry-level race bike, as you can get without spending a whole lot of money.
I remember you trying to wheelie that thing on Westcliff. Like we would get out of the podcast a little boozy and go down Westcliff, and you'd be trying to wheelie that thing. That was like awesome.
Yes, I almost 12 o'clock it once, and then I almost, I chilled out with it because I, got a little bit too close, a little bit too vertical. Yeah.
Are there any tracks nearby you, or are you just you just hopping it up for fun?
No, it was like I got it for free. Like a guy who lived off the street was like, "Oh, you want this SV that I chained my Triumph to?" I'm like, "Sure." And so now it's just kind of like a project. It's like, sure, I take this like SV with like 90,000 miles on it and like turn it and just like throw race parts on it and whatnot. Because I was like,
Was that the same bike when we were riding out towards Yosemite? You were sitting Indian style on it, smoking a cigarette?
Yep.
That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We're doing like 80 on those rollers going through like Auburn or somewhere towards Yosemite. And I'm like, motherfucking Zach sitting Indian style on his motorcycle smoking a cigarette.
I think I was going to say, I think you rolled it, didn't you?
Probably.
No, I had a pack. But no, I had this huge cop shield that and you just like hang out and just like chill. No problem.
A riot shield on a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Basically.
Do you still have do you guys still have the risers with the dirt bike bars, or did you put clip-ons now?
No, it still has ATV bars on it, yeah.
Oh, what about the piston? You still got that piston?
Now.
The piston with the LEDs?
No LEDs.
No, not like my LEDs, not Florida Miami style. I'm talking about the little the pistons, with the
ignition
reverse.
assembly?
You're talking about the spark plug caps.
Indicator lights.
No. He made this badass thing out of like a little mini piston from like a.
Yeah, still got that. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that shit was so sick. I'll know he drilled out the top of it and put all these colored LEDs in it.
Yeah. It's still very much like that. Though my trail tech is dying now, so.
I think I have a Zach trophy here that he gave Jake.
Oh,
actually,
Zach
now that I'm
made-
thinking, can you see this?
He brought the welding game
there
up
you go.
definitely when we
Look
made
at the work that the wire, the words. Little Zach for you.
When Misfits,
but not forgotten.
Does that say Miss Depraved?
It is the recycle garage.
Close enough. Well, and I'm hoping that we'll get to see you and Alice at the next AMA Vintage Days when everything is back to normal.
Yeah, I would love to come visit when everything's back to normal, either in Santa Cruz or see you guys there for sure.
Yeah, you make sure you drag her. Tell her to stop being so shy.
It's
Come on, you're a misfit too, Alice. Admit it. We've been hearing about you for so many years. I feel like you're part of the group.
Even though you took him away from us,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
okay. We'll forgive you, but just a little.
Well, and if we're talking about who's in, bliss and has a family, Megan, you want to tell everyone what's going on with you?
I have a baby.
Yeah, you do. Oops! Look what happened.
Well, Liza, when a man and a woman get together and they love each other.
A stork comes.
Yeah. Penis.
Somebody does.
So, I haven't been doing much. I quit my job. I had a baby. I live in Morgan Hill. He's pretty cute.
Oh,
hi.
Yes, he is.
Hashtag mom life.
Well, and you married up in the motorcycle world because we actually had your do we call him partner, significant other? What's his official title to you?
I don't know, just Jason.
Baby daddy?
Yeah, there you
Stud
go.
muffin.
Your baby daddy, Jason, who was on when we talked about suspension not too long ago.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so you married well. So what's in your garage now? Do you have what bike do you have?
Well, I only have one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my 2017 FZ09. Jason has like a bajillion bikes. Every time we see a different bike, he goes, "Oh yeah, I've got one of those in my storage unit," and the list goes on. And on.
Wait, storage unit? Oh, we may have to come do a visit.
No, you don't want to. It's a complete shit show.
Yeah, I think
Anxiety every time.
Sounds more
I see it.
exciting than it is.
What?
It sounds more exciting than it is.
Yeah, it really is. Charlie can tell you. There's like crackheads and.
Well, you're like, oh, I'll go over to Jason's shop to drop up some suspension stuff, and then all of a sudden you're at like a storage unit. You're like, am I in the right spot?
Yeah, and then there's like people getting in fights and like yelling at each other. It's pretty great.
Bum fights.
Well, I think that you guys will appreciate. So for Christmas this year, it's just Christmas this weekend. So my nephew Enzo, who's 11, for Christmas he gave me a slip and slide. He said, "Here, it's for the garage because I know you guys like to have fun."
Oh,
I think he's seen some of the pictures of the baby pools and such that have happened and the burnouts. You guys,
We gotta bring Cat back for a special appearance.
You gotta have
grass.
like
Why
don't you
not?
have a slip and slide without grass? Like grass is the critical element of a
I
slip
know.
and slide.
That's a luxury. That has a backyard.
You're right. I think I'm going to bring it to AMA Vintage Days. That's what we need. The slip and slide. The not a slide. We'll put a sign on it. It's not a slide.
Bring the lube.
The entire
How can you
place
get a
was a slip
motorcycle
and
on a
slide.
slip and slide?
Motorcycle
That's the real
powered, like drag across?
Oh, so no, Rick. So what you don't know is when we're at AMA Vintage Days, one of the things that Phil's famous for. So we're over in the camping area, but AMA Vintage Days. I don't know if you know how big it is. I mean, it's huge. It's massive. And we'll set up on the camping site, and there's these roads that go through the campgrounds, and people just go up and down them. And Phil will put out a ramp, right, like on cinder blocks, and paint on it. Not a ramp. And it's amazing how many people will take it.
Yeah, good. It's like a sociological test. Yeah,
exactly.
It's pretty much the first person.
Looks like a fucking ramp to me.
I always thought we were just drawing off the plywood.
Challenge.
Once you
And it'll be a 275-pound dude on like a Honda Cub.
Or it might be a 6-year-old on a 2-stroke. Like
one or the other.
I'm into it. Yeah, totally.
Hey, I have a serious question.
Okay.
Has anybody ever come by one of those, what do you call those fucking trucks that haul cars and put a bunch of cars on the back of it, two tiers?
Car hauler.
Or there you go. Has anybody like sat there and driven by while the thing was like set and flush and there was nothing on it and just like contemplated? Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like every fucking time. Like where you're just like, I wonder like how that would work. Or
When they
like,
tilt the flatbeds.
I think we had multiple
like,
guests
do you ever like
talk
fantasize
about
and just
that.
think like, am I that guy? Could I make
Your
that?
Knievel mind goes into gear. Yeah, totally.
I even in a car, I don't give a fuck. I could be in my work van and be like, I wonder like how fast I would have to get to clear the front of the cab.
If the Astro van goes 65 miles an hour. Yeah, totally.
Hey, I have some interesting information for you guys. I thought I'd share, since we're reflecting on 400 episodes, our top 5 episodes. I'm wondering if you guys want to take any guesses of what they might be.
Norman Reedus is number 1.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
What makes it top 5?
1, 2, and 3.
Listen to.
Top 5 most listened to episodes.
Dylan, and Dylan.
I don't know what you said.
It's a Chappelle Show reference.
Oh.
So I'll go with Knox reference.
Yeah.
Wayne Rainey. I think Wayne Rainey was a good one. I'll run with.
Yeah.
Wayne Rainey was not in the top 5. It was one of our top ones.
Definitely Norman Reedus. I think that's one of the top ones.
Yep. Yeah,
Well,
Kat already got that one.
Yep.
Elspeth Beard.
Another great one of our favorites, but no, actually, besides Norman Reedus, the other 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all in the past, I want to say year, past year or so. I'll just tell you because it's interesting. Number 2 most listened to episode of all time, and Jim made mention of it earlier. Number 359, Rally for Rangers.
Wow.
Plus Corona Bike Week. And if you guys remember,
Yes.
significant, this was the last episode we did here in the studio.
Oh wow.
This was right before Corona hit. And we were talking about Corona Bike Week. Like, this is when people were talking about should you go to Sturgis or not?
It was Daytona. It was
Right?
Daytona.
That's right. Daytona happened.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
should you go to a bike festival,
And it worked out fine for Florida. They're good.
But good thing everyone did learn from that when Sturgis Bike Week came around.
Right.
Oh, no, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
But that was significant. That was the last time we were all here. And that's something that I know I miss a lot. And Phil, you've had opportunities to get your group together, record outside, but it's something I definitely miss, having everyone here and having that camaraderie and the chemistry that happens.
Yeah, I'll be the first to tell you that the podcasts that we do on the Zoom feel like, Steve says that he feels like those are 30%. He feels like they're only, no matter what we do on a Zoom cast, we can't ever get above 30%. And it's because of that, there's that missing feeling of love. There's that missing feeling of being in the same place at the same time, and being able to bounce off of each other and all that kooky shit. And it's the kooky shit. It's just being stupid. It's the dumb stuff, because we get, as human beings, each one of us has our own gravity, and we want other people to be in our gravity. And that's what all of us. And so when you put a computer between us and you put, 3,000 miles of fiber between me and you, it's harder to get that same level. So we love it. And we did everything we could, including standing around a 55-gallon drum full of crates, burning crates, to be able to have a podcast freezing our nuts off. But yeah, it's really crazy in the time of COVID. To start looking forward to this shit,
But Go ahead. No, I do appreciate you doing your moto stories with Uncle Phil. I really enjoyed that very
YouTube
much.
channel.
Yes.
It's like all the stories that you tell at the regular podcast, but like serialized. So it's like the direct, like the guy who had food all over his shirt and was trying to beat the dog shit out of you.
The worst customer ever. And I wanted to thank you for wearing a Motorcycles and Misfits shirt in that episode. I was like, I wonder if that's payback, because I wore a Cleveland Moto shirt. Yes, on one of our Misfits.
Well, and that's
episodes.
and that's one of those, we talk about the Mutual Appreciation Society, the Mutual Admiration Society, because with Emma, I know that 90% of the time I'm listening to Emma, paying attention to Emma like she's a 400 level class on surviving a motorcycle dealership, right? And
I like it.
And I know a lot of people are listening to find out the right way to adjust their carburetor, but I'm listening to it to be like, how can I continue to wrench on motorcycles and not kill people?
Hey,
it's a balancing act, Phil. And sometimes you just have to kill people.
Emma's had to talk me off the ledge a few times.
Yeah.
Well, you brought me to the ledge too, jerk.
I brought you to the ledge, and then I talked you down. But, the thing is, I've been on Phil's podcast, and I can exclusively reveal, we were talking about drinking earlier, there is more drinking on the Cleveland Moto podcast, for sure.
It's colder.
But, it's nutrition. It's medicinal, darling.
In Ohio, it's
for the entertainment value. It's all.
You need more psychedelics or something?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
All I can tell you is that bourbon makes me more interesting. It's a fact.
One of talking about memories, and back to when we were out there, Phil, one of my favorite memories, and I wish we could have recorded it, reminded me of Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld, whatever the fuck that was you and Emma in the car ride. I guess we were going to the airport and it was raining or something, and you and Emma were just talking. Do you remember
about
this,
the
Liza?
KLR? I think they were talking about
the DRZ is a fucking scalpel.
Oh, the DRZ, right. Yeah, both Jim and I
it was just Phil
there,
and Emma just chatting about motorcycles. I wish we'd recorded it. It was gold.
I would spend a week with Emma and we wouldn't know anybody else was in the room.
No, absolutely not.
I would be completely fine with that. Yeah.
Yes. And there's such an amount of respect I have for Phil, because of what you do. I mean, this guy has a successful dealership of off-brand makes. Anybody can have a dealership where you sell Hondas and Yamahas and Suzukis. But to actually have a successful dealership that you sell what you sell.
Well, I think that it's very funny that this year we were the #1 Zero dealership east of the Mississippi. That's what's really silly. Because, honestly, you guys understand, like, our shop right now, our service department is full of like CB350s and, you know, old 900s. And like our service department, out of 8 lifts, 7 of them are occupied by carburetors. And for Zero to be in our house and for us to love Zeros the way that we do, this has been the craziest part of my motorcycle history, because I've had to completely change everything that I do. Like, and I love it. I absolutely dig it so much. I love digital motorcycles like nobody's business. I think they're the coolest thing in the fucking world, because they do better out of the crate what I could make a normal motorcycle do with 200 hours of effort.
Well,
So,
and you can ride them underwater, apparently.
can do.
Don't hold on. Don't do it.
He's done it. He's done it.
There's a picture.
Just because you physically can doesn't mean you should.
No, there's a picture where
No, but I can.
the headlight is underwater. The headlight is completely underwater, and you see my hands above the water.
How much of the seat is puckered up your ass at that
A
moment?
lot, because
Okay.
this is the fucked up thing, is what I forgot to take into consideration was that the river has a bottom, and the bottom is not made of concrete. And it turns out the bottom of a river is made of very slippery shit.
Rad.
And so,
You know how many meetings we have to like prevent people like you doing things like this and trying to keep people safe?
He's the chaos factor.
But he
that
sold more
job
bikes
security.
because of it. I've heard you say, and it goes underwater.
and then when the guy comes back and he has giant scorch marks where his testicles used to be,
Natural selection.
according to Zero, that was okay. And I was like, no, according to Phil, that was okay. He's full of shit. Don't listen to anything he says.
Yeah, you may want to take from this meeting, from this podcast, and go to your next meeting and say, maybe more silicone. Just saying.
Oh God, I think what I'm taking from it is that Phil needs to apply to our R&D department.
Well, hey, still going down the list. You know what? Our number 3 show, which is interesting to me, this was podcast 358, so 2 before we shut down from Rona. The straight talk about aftermarket accessories. And Emma, you remember that was one where we tap into Emma's knowledge about all things aftermarket.
Were you cringing when you listened to that one, Phil?
Yes, absolutely. There are places that nobody should ever go in front of a camera or a microphone.
Yes.
And when you've got people listening to your podcast like Vetter, like, you know, the Vetter family, and you start going on about accessories, it's dangerous. You're hanging your ass in the wind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, and then I think, Michael, you'll like this. Our number 4 most listened episode of podcast 367, the NEBDR with Jocelyn Snow.
Yep.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen that movie yet, it was featured in, well, no, actually, we didn't play it in our film festival, did we? Yeah, I think it was in Black Hills. NEBDR with Jocelyn Snow is amazing. It's a fun film to watch, and just even more badassery from her. And then
that was in the film festival, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then
That's where she went over to jump and bounced off a tree.
Bounced off a tree and kept it upright. Yes, exactly. No, but my favorite part was when they were trying to fix her panniers, and she forgot to mention that she had bear spray in there that had gone off, and the guy got bear spray on his hand, and then he somehow scratched his nuts.
Oh God!
As guys do.
Yeah.
And then she made espresso on the trail.
And then number 348 is our 5th most listened to episode. And this one is actually one of my favorites. This one was the History Hole Bonanza. We know that Emma has these amazing history holes, but on this one...
You'll be amazed what I keep in my hole, Star.
But I remember this one, I asked everyone to bring something. I remember I did mine on Evel Knievel toys. And Jim, do you remember what you did yours on?
It may have been the frames. British frame
Montesa.
Rickman. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Rickman
and that
frames.
I think that was a fun one because people just like to hear the stories, and we kind of embraced the storytelling the way Emma does, and all shared our version of things that we love. So that's our top 5. I don't know what our least listened to episode. I think it's commonly known that the worst podcast of all times is Phil's famous bus episode. So there's no reason for us to even throw one of ours in the running.
No, that is probably the worst podcast ever recorded since the invention of podcasts. The good news is the 8 people that were there will tell you that there were people naked. There were fireworks in the bus. The sheriffs came in and tried to get into the bus, where we chased them out of the bus. And this all happened on mic. The problem was it sounded like it was a live recording from the Titanic.
Yeah. but it still made you wish you were there.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some like funny story about the tire blowing out and Bex coming out and you arguing with somebody?
Oh, that was a different episode.
That was our way back from AMA Vintage days, where we blew not 1 but 2 expensive bus tires on a bus we had already sold. So we ended up putting about $900 back into a bus we were already losing money on. And we did that all in a very short period of distance. And we kept exploding tires. And it went from being comical to stressful to overwhelming to like comical again. And the problem was, we were very worried about the state troopers showing up because I didn't have a license to drive the vehicle I was driving. Emma was licensed to drive it. Yeah. I was not.
Everything.
And I'll have to say, I'm going to probably vote that's one of Knox's most stressful experiences, because even though I was the smart one who got on a motorcycle and went ahead and was at the house, and poor Knox was on the bus with you and like reporting to me, and poor Bagel was kind enough to ride his scooter but stay with you guys instead of abandoning ship as I suggested.
Yeah. I mean, that was an adventure of the highest order by any standard, but anybody who was on the bus with me will tell you that they got to hear my drill sergeant voice when I saw Bex in a tutu in traffic. So,
oh God!
We were trying desperately to not get the attention of state troopers because we had drugs and alcohol and other people in the bus. So we didn't need the state troopers popping in to check on us.
And I'm guessing at least one inflatable sheep.
Oh, many inflatable sheep. We had a whole inflatable.
Yeah. That was the driver.
It was not a great situation for police to appear.
So I ended up being that random Californian that had to take your truckload of dead ass bikes back to your house because we split. So I'm sitting here getting lost in Cleveland. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I am. I don't know if I'm gonna get shot or not because I'm obviously not a white guy driving a bunch of fucking what appears to be stolen ass motorcycles.
I've got this vision of that.
It was a great adventure.
I had this vision of that movie Airplane where he looks over and he's like, "Oh, we're on autopilot." And he looks over and it's that inflatable guy flying the plane. He just looks over at him like this.
And it's 3 inflatable sheep.
Yeah.
When the second tire blew,
he's got the wheel. It's fine.
And we were sitting there, we're driving, and we were so happy. We just spent a ton of money. We had, good tires on the bus, and we're hauling ass. And the second one blew. And when the second one blew, those are truck tires. They sound like a bomb going off. But when that second one blew, I was like, "Fuck this! We're not gonna wait on the side of the road for 2 hours again for a hillbilly to come and bring us a tire. We're gonna just limp it in." And we got off the freeway and we got into Amish country, and there we were in a fucking school bus, flat-nosed monster school bus with one flat tire, just dug, and we were holding it like 28 to 30 miles an hour, and we just penetrated Amish country at a very low rate of speed. And we eventually got to the truck stop, and we got to the truck stop, and I pulled up, and I was like, "Yeah, we need a tire." And it was the same son of a bitch at the truck stop that charged us $900 or $700 to change the last one.
Oh man!
And I was like, "Well, the one you put on didn't blow, but this other one did." So yeah, we were fine. And half the people with us were vegans, so we couldn't eat at Wendy's properly or anything else. We had to roam around and find food and shit. It was a fun adventure in retrospect. At the time, it sucked.
Just takes a couple of years to get that retrospect.
It does.
Well, going back to 400 episodes, and since we are doing Zoom for the foreseeable future now, the one thing it does give us is the opportunity to have people from around the country on and to have more guests. I want to know from each of you if there's somebody that you would like to see us get as a guest on the show, whose story you'd like us to share. Anyone have any suggestions?
Keanu.
Yo, Mike.
Retribution.
Oh, Keanu? Mike, don't. We learned our lesson with him.
We need a
we got banned from the quail for a whole year because of that.
Because of you. Because of fucking you. And you need to take fucking responsibility for yourself. And we need to call the podcast Redemption.
Redemption.
I agree with
redemption.
Mike.
Ass
Mike
redemption.
invented.
Mic
And I'll
drop.
tell you, in that particular episode, Mike invented invasive journalism.
I would like to point out, though, that every single person we've asked that question, be it Craig Vetter, Norman Reedus, whoever, they have answered it. Keanu
I
is the
slowly
only one who
penetrated
did.
that interview. Like you penetrated the Amish.
Okay. All right.
So,
Keanu Reeves. Emma, who's on your list?
I've got a couple of suggestions.
Yeah.
Both racers.
Ooh, okay. I'm writing them down.
I would love to interview Dave Aldana.
Oh yeah, cool, totally.
Wild man. Absolute wild man. But the other name is a name you will have never heard. But all our British listeners right now of a certain age are going to go, oh. Did you know that Norton used to make rotary engine motorbikes?
No.
Really?
Wankel engine bikes.
Wow.
Well, Norton used to make Wankel engine bikes in the early 90s, and they used to make damn fast Wankel engine race bikes in the early 90s. And one of the most successful racers of those bikes was a guy called Trevor Nation. And he was just wickedly quick. And I would love to interview Trevor Nation.
All right, Trevor Nation. Where's he out of?
He's English, of course.
Okay.
And the other thing too that's fun about that story is Emma will tell you that during that time of racing, that was when rotaries were starting to be outlawed.
Yep, because they were so quick.
They were so fucking fast, and they were trying to slot them in different categories and different classes. And every time somebody would trot out a rotary, and that's why Norton still had their shit together in the early 90s when their manufacturing of like what you would call commercial motorcycles had pretty much dropped off at that point. But their race team was still showing up on those motorcycles with those rotaries because they were dominant. It was fantastic.
Right, winning everything. So I'm interested, Phil. Have you heard that name before?
I have. And so because that was a perfect time for me, that was the time when I was a young adult. I was living in Europe at the time watching the racing, and I was fascinated by the rotaries because at the time I was really into, Mazda cars. And to watch the motorcycles go around, nobody could put these things in the right class. And it was really fun to watch that new technology give everyone else problems.
And they were just crushingly handsome bikes, and nothing looked like them, nothing sounded like them, and nothing could catch them. I mean, it was just really a glorious time in bike racing.
Yeah, they were wonderfully fast machines for the hour and a half that they would run.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful suggestion. I want to know, Rick, who do you want to see on this show?
Who, me?
Or a story. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a story we're sharing about, like a bike or an engine or a thing or, a helmet, whatever.
I mean, we can recycle and have people back, right?
Oh,
yeah. After Eric was
We
here.
had Cody Webb.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a double deuce.
Yeah,
So-
Cody Webb double dumped.
I like it. After Eric Yule was here, I went to work talking with my boss, Mr. Carlo, who is a motorcycle racing man, knowing the drag strip very well. And he told me about a pie fight that happened in New Hampshire where his friend Fatty threw a pie in Eric's face. And, I know this is years later, but I just wanted to ask about that. I think it's really important, and he didn't say fuck off at the end of it. So I kind of feel like, might be open to it.
That is something I love when we bring on people who are like back in the day, you know, and like even just talking to Mert Law, I loved it when he talked about bringing Evel Knievel home after he broke his leg at the Cow Palace, and he said he was the biggest pain in the ass.
I've heard some Knievel stories from my boss, Liza. I'll have to tell you at some point.
Offline.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
I got a couple.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Well,
I was going to throw out.
Let me. I want to hear from Mycay or Charley. Do you have anyone that you're kind of a story you'd like to hear or share?
No, we know nothing about motorcycles.
Yes.
Well, I learned so much about motorcycles from listening to the podcast. I don't know shit about anyone until you guys bring them on here, and then I'm like, wow, they're the coolest person ever. I don't know, more women badasses.
Yeah, you know who I have on my list. Maybe not a lot of you have heard of Jenny Tinmouth. Have you guys heard of her? She's a British racer, total badass. She does everything, but I believe she does everything.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I just thought of one. There's a company that I found out about recently that I'm like absolutely in love with. They're called Not a Boy LA, and they make women's motorcycle accessories and stuff, and gear and stuff. I just got for Christmas some little tire valve covers.
Oh, do they have penises on them?
No, they have little flames, and they're like purple, and they're super cute, and they have all kinds of little things like that. And I think that they're super cool. They've been doing cool things with their company, and they're very small. So I'd love to hear their story.
Not a Boy LA. That's
those on my shovel head for sure.
Yeah. I think Jim recently found the penis valve stem I put on his one of his bikes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how long it was there.
About 2 months.
Was it there?
Which you love especially when you're like, I haven't ridden this bike in a while. I think it was the FZ. And you take it out for, anyway.
Yeah, I've got a little green cock on the back of my SRF. So one of the ones that Liza gave me, whatever that was, I've got one of those little green cocks on my SRF. Yes. And every once in a while I park up and somebody's like, then people are always looking because it's an interesting, weird bike. And they'll come up and they'll be checking the bike out. And I've got like a Frankenstein sticker on it. And I've got this little dick, and it is hilarious that people are like, oh, nice valve cap. And I'm like, oh yeah, but my friend Liza gave it to me, so it's cool.
Liza, I might need one of these dick caps. I mean,
okay.
This sounds like something I'm left out of.
It's really
circumcised around.
This will just tell you how twisted I am. Phil, when the Women Riders World Relay happened, I had people borrowing all of my bikes to ride, and so I put the dick stems caps on all of them.
For World War.
So I dicked my own bikes for the Women Riders World Relay ride.
To segue from the dicks, you can take a K&N oil filter for the bikes. We've seen them with the nut on the end, That is akin to a nipple. If you stare at that thing dead on, and it's got like an areola around it, and my buddy got some one-shot paint once and hit it. Now, to make it better, there's a side hole through the nut to speed wire it on your bike.
Right.
That a 14-gauge barbell fits right through.
Nice.
So I had a pierced nipple filter on my Dyna, which just sticks out to the left, hanging out there.
Perfect.
And,
nice.
That was one that stared at, too. You talked about the dick, and people look at your bike, what the hell's this? Like, every now and then when they catch a titty, that was one to know.
That's a good thing.
And that K&N filter will lactate on you. Trust me, it will.
Yes, it will.
Careful. It's not as robust as you would think.
No. In fact,
I've seen it in Corbin's parking lot.
Yes. Yeah. Do not twist those nipples.
That was Henry's bike. Remember when Henry's
Megan, this
bike
is
pulled up?
your chance. You said lactating nipple. That's your cue.
I have nothing to add to this.
Nothing has changed, has it? We're still just imbeciles. Jim, what was it that you wanted to throw out there?
Okay, you're not going to get a twofer. You're going to get a threefer.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right. So my first suggestion is back to Rally for Rangers because it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Interview a ranger. Maybe me and Norman will ride out there later next year, and we'll interview a ranger that got a bike. And hey, what have you done with this bike in the last 2 or 3 years or year that has been significant, right? I bet that would be really fascinating. Okay, here's my twofer one. And Phil, let me know what you think. We go to Corbin's and we interview Mike Corbin and Sonny Barger at the same time.
At the same time.
At the same time.
At the same exact time. Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave that there. Sonny and Mike at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, I love everything about that. I think that the idea of getting those two guys together at the exact same moment would be fucking brilliant. So that, I mean, that's cool. And honestly, they're both at the point of don't give a fuck. So
yeah,
cool.
I think that's cool.
Some of the people that run the OHV parks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've tried doing that actually. I've tried getting the Ranger from Hollister on a couple times, but thank you for reminding me. I gotta be more persistent with that one. Bagel, what about you? You got anyone you think or any stories that we should tell?
Oh man, I was trying to think if there was something that would come to mind.
Trip Club in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep my eyes open to see if I can see if find anybody up here who's worth talking to. There might be. There are a bunch of like little independent shops around here, which you have been meaning to kind of go around to and stop in and say hi. I just haven't had a chance yet with everything that's been going on with getting settled into the house and COVID and all that. But yeah, I'll keep my eyes open to see if we have any good folks up here to talk to.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I was trying to find Phil. I do have a picture of me. I can't find it fast enough. Emma, you were there. I think it's me, Craig Vetter, Mike Corbin, and Sonny Barger all together.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I remember that very, very well.
What made me think of this is I was watching the documentary on Hunter S. Thompson the other day, which is brilliant. If you haven't watched it, the Hunter S. Thompson documentary is really good. And he starts talking about the Hells Angels and everything else. And it was such a cool slice of California and all that kind of stuff. Sure. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, and you know what?
But I had a picture of, I'm sorry, what made me think of it was Emma kissing Sonny on the face.
Yeah.
Like a big old smooch around the side of Sonny's bald head.
Hey, honey,
remember that?
how are ya?
Yeah. Oh, I've got a photograph of it, and I posted that picture on my profile on the Book of Faces, and it was one of my most popular pictures.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and you took it. And if you look at the picture carefully, I mean, obviously, front and center is me planting a big old smoochie on Sonny,
yeah.
but right behind him, there's a there's a prospect who looks like he's ready to smash my face in.
You were being watched, Emma.
Well, it's whenever Sonny moves around, there's always like a gazillion prospects around him,
Right.
and
Sure,
it's like
high-profile
that's their
dude.
job.
Yeah.
And I will say, Emma, you were not the only hot chick that planted a kiss on Sonny's bald head that day.
No, I wasn't. There was a
don't talk
plethora of
Emma
her.
down.
There was a few of us, but I was the hottest of them all, darling, as I always am.
Agreed.
I hope you take your pills. Be sure you don't know what's going on with those people.
You were the only one that kickstarted a Cowie to get there that day. So that's for
Exactly.
It's probably the first time Sonny's been close to a real mechanic in a long time.
So-
I've got a copy of his what might be a cinematic debut, Hell's Angels on Wheels.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great watch.
Yep.
Well, what year was that made, Bagel? Is that like 67, 68?
Yeah, it was like 66 or 67, I forget, but yeah,
It was
back in the
early.
day.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
scenes of San Francisco.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
cool.
Opening scene,
It's like
Daly
Bullet
City
with
and all that.
motorcycles.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the coolest choppers ever are in that one, too.
Yeah.
might I say.
Yeah. Amazing bike. Horrible plot. Amazing bikes.
Oh, there's a plot? I thought it was like watching porn. I wasn't
Yeah,
watching
pretty
porn.
much.
It's kind of like watching Stone. I was just fascinated with the bikes. I have no idea what the movie was about.
So
But the bikes.
It's all Gonzo.
I have a question for the group, and I'm kind of looking at Bagel, because you obviously like these kind of films, and Ricky, you might know. So, in the late 60s, there was a ton of these, I suppose you'd want to call them, Hell's Angel exploitation films, where there was
Right.
always the bike gang and so on and so forth.
Exploitation.
Yeah, let's call them that. And
And
I
Jack Nicholson.
vividly remember one film, and again, it had a very, very loose plot, but I can remember one of the films, one of the bike gang had a chopped Triumph, and it was always breaking down. And
so it was a real movie.
Yeah, it was. It was a very realistic movie. And at the end of the movie, there's this big fight between rival gangs, and they all die, except the very, very closing credits of the film. This guy rides in because his Triumph broke down on the way to the fight. Does that ring any bells with anybody?
Ooh. And he's the only survivor?
He's the only survivor because he had a chronically unreliable Triumph chopper.
Emma, if you remember the Amazon Prime hole, there's a couple of biker exploitation flicks definitely in there. You know, I've seen shit that I never heard of again after watching it in that hole.
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I mean, I might have eaten cheese at bedtime and dreamt it all. It's possible.
Well, stranger things have happened. You know, there's mushrooms growing in the yard and tra-la-la, and Emma's your auntie.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
if you guys won for free, this is an absolute favorite. I'm certain that none of you have seen this movie. This movie is called The Pink Angels.
Okay.
The reason you have to watch this movie is because there is a gay biker gang that is almost exclusively riding Neepner sidecar rigs.
Oh.
And this is from that this is from that 1969-71 era of extraordinarily bad biker movies. So The Pink Angels, seriously, watch it because it is terrible, but once you realize that they made it and it got built, you're actually going to sit in astonishment. It's better than Wonder Woman 1984.
Should we dress up like Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No, they
But
dress
you
up like
can.
Lemmy from Motorhead.
Oh, bitchin'. Ace of Spades.
Yeah,
Boots and
it's
hats.
really good.
Man.
I'm going to give a bonus point now to anyone on this podcast
Yeah.
except Phil,
Oh, man.
who can tell me Lemmy's last name.
Killmeister.
Oh!
Oh, didn't see that one coming, did you? Did you?
I was watching that damn documentary an hour ago.
I'm full of surprises. That's right.
put the
I can name
kill
all
in
the
Killmeister?
Backstreet Boys and Lemmy's last name. That's right.
Okay, but you guys totally win because the documentary I watched the other day was the Evel Knievel documentary done by our friend Richard Hammond. And so he did this documentary that he went out to Montana and he shot the last footage of Evel before he died. And this documentary features a bit with Debbie Lawler. So how cool is that they get her interview talking about Evel Knievel and kind of her world with him. So that's a really good one, and that's all done by Richard Hammond from Top Gear.
Yes.
That's a fun
Yeah,
one.
cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Hey, before we get too far close, we're getting close to the end. I wanted to do a listener email who's asking for some help. And this one is from Buddy in Detroit. And he says,
Hey, buddy.
what do I do with my life now? He says, I'm trying to see
Buy
what to do with
another
my
motorcycle.
life now that I have listened all the way through the Motorcycles and Misfits catalog. I started listening to motorcycle podcasts in 2016. I've listened through Cafe Racer, Wheel Nerds, and Cleveland Moto. And then I found you guys thanks to Uncle Phil. Hey.
Yeah.
And he
Best
says,
thing I ever did was send people to you.
Thank you. Says, I think Noco Moto is next. I listened to podcasts for a year before I convinced my wife to let me get a license. And then another year before I got my 2009 Triumph Speedmaster. So far, the bike has been great, been doing minor wrenching, and going to replace my chain and sprocket this winter. I have a slight leak around the top of the engine. I think it's the cam cover gasket. One of my highlights was when I was working in Reno and I rented a Bonneville and went around Lake Tahoe and Silver City. Thank you guys for all your inspiration to wrench on my bike and hours of entertainment. Happy 400th episode from Buddy.
Oh,
Right
thank
on.
you, buddy.
That's
What
awesome.
does he do? I have a suggestion.
Buy a piece of shit bike.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a really good
Mike, I'm
suggestion.
going to put my helmet on too.
My suggestion is there's even more content on YouTube, and you got the Unky Phil stories there, which are just it's an addition to what you already talked about on the podcast, as well as you can get more Miss Emma on our YouTube channel, as well as a lot of the stuff that Mike did. Of all these Misfits have at one time been on our YouTube channel. So that's another thing, and you can listen to YouTube. You don't always have to be watching. So that's something that's worth doing, I would say. Phil, you got any more recommendations of what he should do with his life?
You know what? Buy a shitty bike, man. Just buy buy a piece of history. Get something that has a dollar value as close to zero as possible. Just get something that is like, it's just screaming of tetanus.
Kind of has the license plate.
It's sexy.
You mean like something Zach would ride?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first time you see Zach's
Miss
bike,
Zach.
when you see Zach's bike, you know he's the most interesting guy in the room.
That thing is badass. Everyone who's ridden that bike is like, I don't know if I want to ride that. And they ride it and they get off it and they're like, that's a good bike, yeah.
A good bike.
You know, we've had
Looks like shit. Ride's great.
We've had a lot of piece of shit bikes that just keep giving and are still fun. But I have to say, the person who wins the award for the biggest piece of shit bike they ever brought to the garage and never rode away is James.
For what?
That Chinese bike that you bought.
That was
sounds like a
perfectly
bill.
rideable.
That thing ran, bro.
That, what was it, like a Chongqing or Quanzhen or something?
It
Ching
still
chong.
lives in Santa Cruz. I saw it. It's still alive with a new motor. So someone took the time to swap a motor into it. And
It's
it's
still
somewhere on
registered
the
in your
west side.
name.
The power of good paperwork.
I mean, we've learned a lot from Phil, who shares with us the do's and don'ts of motorcycle buying, and one of them is never buy Chinese. And James, you kind of proved the point when you brought that here.
I didn't buy it though. It was given to me.
Okay.
Ah, there you go.
That's fine.
You have an outfit
Yes.
that says, don't buy Chinese, but you can borrow it anytime you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to bring like 6 Chinese 125s to AMA Vintage Days next year.
Oh no. Yes.
That'll be fun.
Nice.
And, you know, and I think another valuable lesson that people learn from both of our shows, Kat, you can chime in here, is don't buy an old Zero.
I wouldn't say don't. I have an old Zero, and I think that there's something to be said for
a range of 30 miles.
Well, okay, so yeah, the range of
it's wheeling past Mike's house.
like, I'm not using it to go cross country. I'm using it to rip around in the hills and
Really past my house.
I'm not.
Really
I'm
past
not doing
Mike's.
that. I'm not doing that. I mean, if you want to go across country, yeah, don't buy an old Zero. I mean, you could and eat your way across the country and stop at every cafe, but I think that my old Zero is great
Because it was free.
No, it was not free. Let's see, how do I explain it? It gets you from point A to point B in the most enthusiastic and helium feeling inducing way, and that is worth its weight in gold.
Nice. What I can imagine, when I know more or less where Zero and Cat lives up in the mountains. If you're going to ride a fast bike really fast for a short distance, she has the commute for sure.
I do. I have the perfect ratio of twisties, elevation changes, and it only takes me, well, okay, so legally it takes me 12 minutes to get to work.
What's the hypothetical time?
Hypothetical time, it could be like somewhere around like 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Not that I've timed it.
I was going to say that road too. They repaved that road. It's smooth.
Oh yes, they did. Beautiful.
I was going to say just Cat's driveway has twisties and elevation change and turns and blind corners. That's
And
just
gravel.
her driveway.
So much
and
gravel.
yes, at the bottom when you're trying to stop. That's good. Yeah.
Well, I think we're bringing this show to a wrap. I want to thank all of you Misfits for joining us. You know, I think the reason people enjoy our show because of that you bring. Every single one of you has brought something to it. Your story, your jokes, just everything. It's hard to describe. I mean, Phil, there's a chemistry here, and you get all these crazy people, and we just have so much fun. And so I just wanted to thank each one of you and all the other Misfits that's been on the show, except for Faith.
Okay, I
think that would be our one worst episode.
Hand to God. Hand to God.
My goodness.
Where's Lucas?
I'd forgotten about that.
Lucas, he was invited, but I think he's a nightcrawler.
He's in prison in Russia, I think.
We don't know. He's living a secret life. There's a couple Misfits that live in these secret lives now.
But I think if I could chip in, I think one of the reasons our show is so loved and is so successful, and I'm making two very big presumptions there, that people actually enjoy our show, and the fact that we still got listeners after 400, some people really must. It's what it says on the box. We are Misfits, every single one of us, but it doesn't matter because we love motorbikes, and that's by far the most important thing. Because you know what? I mean, out there aren't such thing as perfect people. Nobody's living a perfect life, except maybe for the Mirandas. Nobody's living.
Someone's got to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Look at that garage.
We are very, very much Misfits. And in certain parts of society, they would probably run us out of town with flaming torches. But it doesn't matter, because together, we make this thing happen. I think it's wonderful. I'm really missing the garage right now. We haven't had the garage open for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm missing it more than I could possibly imagine. And I miss being in a studio with everyone as well. I agree absolutely 100% with what Phil says. The closest you can get with Zoom is 30%. And, 30% of what we normally do is quite a lot, but I'd rather be in a studio with everyone.
I agree. And the other thing, too, just having, people like Kat and Megan and James on here who haven't been on the show for a while, it just reminds me that we did kind of create like this weird family, and Zach too. And it's like, and then they come back and it's like no time has passed. Like everyone is still the same. We're this weird family who just enjoy one another.
Yeah,
so,
old friends.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Exactly. So you know what? Just a big thanks to all of you, and especially to all of our listeners. And we've been doing this because we love doing it, and we love also there's so many Misfits out there who feel like they're a part of it. I think, Phil, you're probably the only other show that's same sense that when I'm listening to your show, I feel like I'm sitting there, with you guys in the garage shooting shit. And I'm shouting. I'm shouting all the time things. Like, there are times I should text them, and I'm like, no, I hate it when people do it to me. They'll listen to the show from like radio, 2 months ago, and they'll text me something like, you should have said this.
Right.
I've moved on.
I take strong issue with shit you say every single week. And then I realize it's not live.
I know, but we have fun, and hopefully everyone out there enjoys it as much. And, and that we recognize that there are Misfits everywhere. And even though we've all spent time together and bonded, that's another thing that I look forward to when we go out to an event or something and somebody can walk up. I mean, it happened to me in England,
Except for Paul.
Except for Paul. Yeah.
No shit. Fuck Paul.
Fuck Paul.
But, you go to an event and somebody walks up and it's like you have an old friend there. And even though you don't really know them, they know you through sharing your stories, and you feel like they're one of us. If they're listening,
Did the guy go, "Hey, are you Liza from the Misfits, eh?"
They all say exactly the same thing. They all just look at me.
God, it was like being there. Who did that voice? Who did that?
That was me.
When people become pleasantly underwhelmed when they meet us.
Like Keanu?
Yes.
That's my favorite thing about doing the little penny tours is that when people come, they're like, "Oh, it's so much smaller than I thought."
What's that smell?
Like, that's only when you're in there.
Those people are like, "Hey, I heard you guys sold weed." I'm like, "Where's Knock? Where's Knock?"
Penny tours.
Well, and just a reminder to everyone, I mean, Phil, James, all you guys, we're still doing this every week. If you want to be a part of it, let me know. I'll send you a link. You're more than welcome. You know, once you've been on 2 shows, you're a misfit. You're in. So, and hopefully we can get the garage back open and get things back to a little closer to the way they were, especially since I got a slip and slide now. Thank you.
Right.
And Phil, I wanted to say I have got some fresh Newcastle Brown in the pantry outside. Nice. So anytime you want me back on Cleveland Moto, I'll line up the Newcastle Browns and join you. And
that's fantastic. And I've got
get drunk.
I got a bottle of gin this big that's got just a touch of Rohypnol in it, so it's perfect.
Ooh, no!
You could seduce yourself.
So hold on. The criteria for Cleveland Moto is you need like a breathalyzer. You need to be at like a certain alcohol level, and then you're.
No, yeah. I mean,
you need to be
It has to light on fire.
Yeah.
You just need to be interesting, Mike. And
Your
that's
mic
why
is turned off until you hit a certain amount, and you can.
You have to keep showing.
You just need 2 fingers.
Can I tell a 1-minute story that is probably going to be of some amusement to people? So, way back when, and we're talking very, very early 80s, my local boozer that I used to go to in England, which was frequented mostly by bikers, got something of a reputation of bikers getting completely drunk and then smashing up their bikes on the way home. And so the landlord thought he would be responsible by actually getting a breathalyzer in the pub, so you could blow into the breathalyzer and get the reading to know if you were okay to ride home. And it backfired completely because we used to have a competition to see who could get the highest score. And I have seen grown men carried over to the machine and sort of helped by their friends, and it's like, my God, he should be dead.
Saying if the machine was not there, they would not have drank nearly as much, right?
Right, it's because you wanted the high score on the machine.
We're all winners, damn it.
But if he had a Triumph chopper, he'd make it home, right? If he had a Triumph chopper, he'd make it home.
Yes.
That's funny.
Or not.
As long as he rewired it, it had nothing to do with anything original.
At least he'd miss the fight, you know?
I'll tell you, I've
So,
had many
yeah, so we for our Misfits listening, we have some homework. Number 1, if anybody can remember that film where the one character had a chronically unreliable Triumph chop and showed up late, please let me know the name of it. And then the second is, if anybody knows where Trevor Nation is, by the way, Phil, nice Triumph. But if anybody knows the whereabouts of Trevor Nation in 2020, we would love to interview you, darling.
Hey, and you can send that to recyclemotorcyclegarage@gmail.com. And we'd like to, share your stories too. Send in your recommendations of who we should have on the show, what topics we should talk about, what Emma should pull out of her hole, that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, there's a lot more in there, Phil. There's a lot.
I have a quick request.
Yeah.
Mycay and Charley, by the way, have got their own show going on in their world of motorcycle training and seriously, these guys, every time they're on, I fucking love it because they bring to your show something about Mycay's journey on her own. So what she's accomplished is awesome. That's fucking pivotal. So that's amazing right off the chute. But what's really cool is that they're taking the time to train people and they have people getting into that and they are literally helping the thing. I am going to make motorcycling worse for the rest of my life. My high point was like 1995, right? So like 95, I was helping, I was an MSF instructor, like I was all of the good things. But since then I've gone downhill and now I'm just a force of evil for the motorcycle industry.
And you're like, fuck it, do the burnout.
That's exactly right. And I'm going to say, do that again because you didn't crash spectacular.
Will it flip?
Right.
Will it flip?
So Mike and Charlie, see what you get to. That's what you look forward to.
I'm so fucking impressed that these guys are legit out of your household, like out of the Misfits camp, has come this. You guys have continued to build better motorcyclists. You have made more motorcyclists. You've created them from nothing. You've brought them in. You gave them gear. You sent them to training. And you've got people in your house that make the shit better. And that's really saying something. I'm going to keep tearing it down. You keep building it up.
Thanks for saying that. That's such a cool shout out. By the way, I made stickers recently that say ride like a girl. So if people want stickers, hit me up on Instagram at ponytail_syndrome, and I'll see if I can send you
Show them the stickers.
Ponytail syndrome, nice.
Somewhere else, I don't know.
So I think, you guys, I think we're gonna wrap up episode 400 again. Thanks everyone for joining us. Normally we say your names as we exit. I'm going to do it a little bit different this time. I'm just going to give some thanks, and then when I say the tagline, I just want everybody to join in with our, the cool. You guys got that, right? Big, loud, cool. I think that'll be great. Oh, good sticker.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Thank you again to all of you Misfits, all the past Misfits, to Norman for joining us. How cool was that? I think you guys were a little bit surprised. Nice. Yeah.
Hello.
I told you I had something big up my sleeve.
Yep. He's so chill.
You're really friendly with the mic there, Phil.
Thank you to all the listeners who stuck with us, and all the Misfits out there for sticking with us. We're just going to keep doing this as long as we can. That's the plan for now. So on that note, I think we're ready to get out of here. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Son.
Yeah.
Smoke weed every day.
This is the OnlyFans channel at this point. This is where we start putting donations in. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
Nick, come on.
Well, thank you guys. That was fun. Hey, and Phil, I got an offer for you. I was going to see if you're interested in a CX500 Turbo trade for something cool.
Well, okay, you said it right. CX500 Turbo trade for something cool.
Oh, come on!
Dude, that bike is pretty cool.
Battlestar Galactica cool.
It
What are you
is
done with
the
that bike, Liza?
Huh?
it is the white
Done with
sport
it?
coat of sport bikes.
That's the type of bike that you just want to own it to say that you owned one, and as long as you made it better than when you got it, you're good.
Yep.
That's
good.
That's how
Did
it
that
works.
bike come
Pass
from
it on.
Emma?
Emma
In a
told me about
roundabout,
it. Yeah.
in a roundabout way.
Was that a bike that may have been in your garage in Prunedale 14 eons ago?
No.
Different turbo bike?
Yeah, different.
That
This
was
came from a
a
collector.
that was a Suzuki XN85 I had in the Prunedale garage many years ago.
Odd weirdo, yes.
That is a fucking mutant right there.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think we're wrapped up. Thanks again, you guys. I mean, 400. I still can't believe we got here. How crazy! And
Yeah,
Liza,
isn't that
put
wild?
fucking turbo on, bring a trailer.
yeah. So, and Megan, to have you on 1 and 400 is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Micah has gone through her arc. Megan went through an arc. Kat's gone through an arc. Everybody's gone through. James, everyone, Jim. It's
What?
Mike. I mean, to see all these people who've gone through this arc of tapping into just this knowledge and passion that we all share with each other has been really the best gift for me. And I think that's what people love. The only one is Knock. He seemed to have gained nothing from it.
He gained some weight.
It made you worse.
He gained 15 pounds.
I started eating more edibles. I got fatter, and I went through an ER. That was pretty awesome.
I know. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you so much. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll get the garage back open.
Did you guys see Knox's background?
Yes.
Yeah,
and Phil had one too.
Yeah, that's badass, man. Yeah, that's the 400th episode, bitches. And not kidding around, that is not to be fucking taken lightly.
Yeah.
That the 400 thing, you guys, that's
There it
a
is.
big deal. And we are joking all the time. There's nothing out there that you can listen to that has that kind of longevity outside of Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
In prison.
Yeah. So it really is. I mean, it's a big deal for everybody, but the fact that it's still it is the first podcast I listen to of the week. Because I love you guys, but it's also because the content is fantastic too. It's the only podcast that I straight up always recommend to everybody.
That is so nice of you to say. You're my third.
Thank you.
This parallels another conversation I think I've had before.
Yeah, hold on. I mean, we know where we stand in these things with Uncle Liza around. Yeah, we know how that goes. Yeah, that's
Man, you can't top this American life. I mean, come on. Gotta get my NPR in. All right.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.